Look, man, we got about 25 days left, all right, for this enormous fight between Jermell and Canelo Alvarez. And while this fight has surprised a lot of people, surprisingly, a lot of people aren't talking about it. Everyone is still, mind you, it's only been a month since Bud Crawford, beat the snot out of Errol. But everybody, like right now, Bud has all the whole world's attention. I've never, and I rarely see Canelo rebuttal or go back and forth on a fighter. He doesn't really address or respond to fighters, but he's been giving it a lot of thought to Bud Crawford. In fact, Bud Crawford, man, it's kind of like a mini Canelo in the sense that he's building a lot of mega fights for himself. He's got the world's attention on a Boots fight. He's got the world's attention on the rematch of Errol, a potential fight with Jermell, a potential fight with Canelo Alvarez. Bud Crawford has the world on his fingertips. And everyone is circulating his news. And I think Terence Crawford's having a lot of fun just kind of like manipulating the news and manipulating the situation of events, right? It's actually very refreshing, and I'm glad that Bud Crawford's doing that. But going back to Jermell Charlo, man, I watched the interview with Brian Custer on The Last Stand, and as I was having that on the background, I was reading this Boxing Scene article where Jermell Charlo explains that it is tough, or he's having a tough time transforming his body into super middleweight. And then after I listened to the interview, after I read the article, I started watching A Day with Jermell Charlo on Showtime Sports. And I think Jermell is feeling the pressure and the weight. And he's starting to realize that even though I got the skills and I am a great 154 fighter, he might be having doubts that he's not a great 168-pound fighter. You see? And this Boxing Scene article, the most important part for me was when he said after the 15-month layoff while recovering from his broken left hand, he stated, "I don't really know that just yet. 168 is still considerably not my weight division. It's not easy to make 168. I have to gain weight, and gaining weight when you're working really hard is really tough. I could easily walk around 168. I'm definitely not the naturally bigger fighter. 168 is not my weight division." Now, these are just facts. He's not saying anything that we don't know. But in the press conference, when you guys kickstarted the ones in LA and New York, you were saying, when people asked you the question, you were saying that you're naturally bigger than Canelo, that you're taller, you got longer arms, bigger legs, wider, you were bigger than Canelo. Now all of a sudden he's changing his tone just because Canelo is thicker. We've been knowing all these things, but you rose to the occasion. You signed the contract. Now here's the thing. What I'm concerned about Jermell is, besides the weight, is his approach to this fight. You can't approach Canelo and you can't approach this situation in fighting Canelo by gaining a lot of weight. Do what Manny Pacquiao did when he was jumping multiple weight classes all at once, and then he eventually settled down at 147. Beat them with speed. Accept that you're the smaller fighter. Even when Pacquiao was fighting guys at 147, he would weigh in at 141, 143, 144, 145. And then he would balloon up to like 151. He wouldn't even hydrate that much. Because naturally, to reinforce Jermell Charlo's point, it's very difficult to make weight and gain weight when you're working really hard because you're losing natural weight. Same thing with Pacquiao. So just beat him with speed. If Jermell approaches this situation trying to lift weights and gain a lot of muscle just for show and cameras, and he loses that speed, or he's carrying excess weight, he's going to lose his sharpness. And I bring this, and this is an important factor, because Jermell Charlo, even though he's undisputed at 154, Jermell Charlo gets hit a lot. Okay? He gets hit a lot. He got hit a ton of times against Brian Castano in both fights. He got hit a lot by Tony Harrison. And we're talking about flush punches where, you know, Jermell gets stunned a little bit. Not a major wobble, but, you know, there's some little hesitation. Jermell gets hit in almost all of his fights. This is not a good thing, because in order to beat Canelo, he's going to have to be perfect. Okay? And Bivol was perfect, but Jermell Charlo is not Bivol. All right? Because Bivol is used to sparring and walking around and fighting bigger men than Canelo Alvarez. Jermell has to be perfect. And again, one of the things that Jermell has to tighten up is his defense. He gets hit by everybody. He got hit a gang of times by Brian Castano, Tony Harrison. I mean, the list goes on. Jermell gets hit a lot. He's going to get hit by Canelo Alvarez. Okay? Because Canelo knows the same thing that we know, that Jermell knows as well. You've never fought at 168. You don't walk around this weight. Right? How would Jermell Charlo look at 168 had he fought Caleb Plant? We never really seen Jermell Charlo fight a guy with a shoulder roll. Right? We've never seen him fight a guy who's 6'4". Right? Like Canelo fought Callum Smith. We've never seen Jermell Charlo fight a slick southpaw like Billy Joe Saunders. He didn't fight Erislandy Lara. I guess you can say Austin Trout. I can give you that. Austin Trout pretty slick. I like Austin. So there's a lot of questions, even though Jermell Charlo is undisputed and he is the big man at 154, he's nobody at 168. And he's letting us know that he's struggling. And then in that interview with Brian Custer in The Last Stand, he said, yeah, man, when I'm sparring these dudes, I know, oh, okay, this guy hits extremely hard. He's got heavy hands. So he's going to have to be perfect. And when you're not perfect and you're only focused on the weight, that should be the last thing that Jermell Charlo's worried about. You gotta be fast. You gotta use your great legs. We know the game plan. Hell, Canelo knows the game plan. So where is this element of surprise that Jermell Charlo is gonna surprise Canelo with? I just don't see it. Now here's the thing. I'm not saying Jermell Charlo is food for Canelo Alvarez, but this is not a big fight for Canelo. Conversely, this is a huge fight for Jermell Charlo. I'm not saying Jermell is a bum, but I'm saying that he's a nobody at 168. Because I don't know if he can beat those guys. Jermell could beat Rocky Fielding, but in terms of accomplishments, of course, Jermell is better than all those guys that Canelo has faced at 168. That's why this fight is huge in the sense that it's undisputed versus undisputed, right? It's kind of like if Teofimo had fought Josh Taylor, undisputed for undisputed, or Bud Crawford moving up and fighting Jermell at 154. Honestly, I think looking back at situations, I think Jermell should have stayed at 154. And I'm not saying fight Tim Tszyu or fight Bud Crawford. I'm saying fight somebody just to, you know, see how that hand heals up and how you feel about throwing it with pop. Because all these questions and concerns aren't things that you want leading up to fighting Canelo, especially when I'm saying that you have to be perfect in order to beat Canelo, okay? Because if we look at the fighters that beaten Canelo, right, some might say Triple G, Bivol, and Floyd Mayweather, they were perfect. And the rest of the fighters that didn't beat Canelo, they weren't perfect. There's only been maybe 3 fighters that had been perfect. And one thing is, Jermell, even though he can take these punches at 154, I could see him getting knocked out by Canelo. I think this lion will be lion meat. I think Canelo, whatever Jermell feels at 154, because he said something of a great quote. He goes, most people can't relate to a champion. They can only relate to an underdog, right? And that's actually very profound. And I'm going to say it again because I like it a lot. Most people can't relate to a champion. They can only relate to an underdog. Okay? That means a whole lot of things. One is everybody can relate to an underdog because everybody's chasing a dream. But many can't relate to being a champion because you essentially have to be in the 1%. Jermell is dropping a lot of gems. But here's the thing. When you move up to 168, now you're the underdog. And a lot of people are rooting for him. Vince says they are fighting at the end of the month, right? Correct, Mr. Vince. They are fighting September 30th. And it's going to be a great fight, man. I logged on to Bovada. It's like a betting website that I like to go. And they finally posted, excuse me, they finally posted, the 4 main important fights that they've announced that'll probably be on the televised portion of the Canelo undercard. They have Jesus Ramos, who we talked about the other day, versus Erickson Lubin. Erickson Lubin is plus 340, right? He can upset the young 22-year-old. It'll be a very good fight. Jesus is the favorite fighter. Then you have your Denis Ugas, the Cuban who got his eyes shut and eventually the fight got stopped, versus Errol Spence like 2 years ago. Now he's fighting after a year layoff or so, Mario Barrios. And you got Elijah Garcia fighting Jose Armando Resendez, a 20-year-old versus a guy who's coming off his best victory against Jarrett Hurd. And the odds on Jose Armando Resendez is plus 400. And then you have Jermell Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez. And if you go Canelo by unanimous decision, because I don't think the odds for a knockout are up, if you do a 4-fight parlay, I don't know if you are a betting man, but let's say you drop $50. You win $7,000. If you go Canelo by decision, Jose Armando Resendez upsetting Elijah Garcia, I'm sure that's going to happen. That's not even the upset. They actually got that pick wrong. Erickson Lubin versus Ramos, that's a 50-50. And you got Barrios upsetting Ugas. That's wishful thinking. But again, Ugas is closer to 40 years old. So if there's ever an opportunity for Mario Barrios to be amazing, would be that night. I remember Ugas. He fought a good fight last time I watched him. Yeah, man, Ugas is really good. He's made a lot of improvements, and he's gotten better with age. He had struggled early in his career fighting guys, Puerto Rican guy like Tomas Delorme. But ever since, I don't know if he always was with Ismael Salas, a Cuban trainer, but ever since he's teamed up with that trainer, he's rejuvenated his whole career, giving guys like Sean Porter a very good fight, essentially retiring Omar Figueroa. I know Figueroa ended up fighting one more time against Jesus Ramos' uncle, Abel Ramos. But yeah, Ugas is a really good fighter, man. And he gave Spence a really good fight. So on paper, Ugas should be Barrios. That's correct. But I'm going to be rooting for Mario. And hopefully he's able to pull something of a miracle, because I don't want him to be I don't want him to be used like a stepping stone, or just something. September 15th, ESPN and ESPN Plus in Texas, Ruben Villa. Yeah, man, he's fighting in a couple of weeks, and I think he's fighting in Corpus Christi, Texas. He's going to be fighting on the undercard of Luis Alberto Lopez, El Venado, who Ruben has already beaten. And Venado is fighting a guy who I think will beat him. His name is Joet Gonzalez. Joet Gonzalez has fought Shakur Stevenson, Isaac Dogbo, Emmanuel Navarrete, and none of those fighters were able to knock Joet Gonzalez down or knock him out. He gave Navarrete a really good fight. In fact, I was rewatching it like a couple days ago. I need to finish it because I stopped going into round 7, and I had Joet beating Navarrete 4-2 going into the 7th round. It was really close, but Joet brought it, man. And I thought he beat Isaac Dogbo, but they gave it to Dogbo. And then man, he lost convincingly to get against Shakur, but he gave him a good fight. He says, nice. I can't wait for that card. Yeah, it's going to be a good night of boxing. Ruben Villa it's another showcase fight. I think these are just stay busy fights for Ruben, but I'm pretty sure after this, I don't know if he has a 3 or a 4 fight deal with ESPN, but I think in this next fight, after he's victorious, that he'll most likely win by knockout, because I think the guy he's fighting is like rated like 70 in the world, when Ruben is like top 15, top 20, maybe even top 10, in our respective sanctioning bodies ranking system. But yeah, once Ruben knocks this dude out, he'll most likely want that title shot of that same undercard that he's there. So Luis Alberto Venado gave Ruben a good fight when they were both more or less undefeated back on Showtime, Showbox. So it'll be really interesting, man. Ruben's got all the skills to be a champion. Hell, not even just a champion. I think he can become undisputed. But the problem is he's got to have to do it soon, because Naoya Inoue, he's creeping through that door. You saw what he did at 122, and that power and speed, Naoya Inoue is going to carry it to 126. And Naoya Inoue is the biggest puncher at 126 right now. He hits harder than Ruben. I'm pretty sure he hits harder than Robeisy Ramirez. I don't know about Venado Lopez. Venado is amazing, but Naoya hits harder than Lee Wood. So if Ruben has an opportunity to ever become a champion, he's gonna have to do it soon, because he's gonna get a little tricky once that Japanese fighter moves up. Yeah, man, it's good. So it's actually a really great weight class. Yeah, 126 featherweight. That's a really good weight class, man. But yeah, I can't wait for Ruben, man. I'm always excited for that guy. And he's I don't know if you're from the area or if you met him or if you've gone to his boxing gym, but he has amazing shirts, bro. Amazing detail of his shirts. I bought when I went to go get my not Cleto Reyes, but my No Boxing No Live Canelo boxing gloves. I went to go get them signed by Ruben. I asked him, hey, yo, Ruben, how much do you charge for, his autograph? And he goes, nah, I don't charge. Just stop by and buy some shirts. So I bought 4 of them because I thought they were going to be cheesy shirts, but in reality, they were pretty cool in terms of their details. He hooked up with this artist from the Bay Area. On the social media, he goes by Urban Legend. His name is, I think, Jesse Rodriguez or something like that. And he's this street artist, essentially. And he had signed and teamed up with Black Panther and a lot of Marvel Studios. And he makes these little oh my God, it's this Mexican or Native American art piece, little murals, and these little alhambres. Damn, I forgot what they're called, but they're basically like these little wooden murals, and he carves them and he paints them in fine detail. Anyway, Ruben's teamed up with him, and they designed this Dracula shirt, like this Native American Dracula shirt, and it's like brown. I'll send some pictures. I have some, and I'll probably post them in the live on the next one. I know I have them on my phone, but I don't want to screen share certain things. But anyway, bro, his shirts are pretty cool, and he really embraces that Dracula thing. Vince goes, no, I'm from San Jose, but I love his story. Watch his past story on Showtime and other videos. Humble and soft-spoken guy. Yeah, man, he's really good people. Like if you ever meet him, or if you ever stop by, or go to his fights, and yeah, man, he just seems like like a childhood friend that you've known for forever. He's very just like, yeah, man, he's confident, but he's very like, you can just carry a conversation with him for like hours. And you're just like, damn, bro, like, what the hell? Like, you think like you would be each other's best friends, because he's kind of like an open book. He's just willing to just, he loves his people, and, he loves talking to people as well. So I can go to Salinas and buy your shirt, Drac Villa. Yeah, you can go to his Drac, I think it's called Drac 4 Gym or something like that, because he's Ruben Villa the 4th. You can go to his gym, his boxing gym, which is in Salinas, and then you can buy a shirt. It's like once you enter, they have like a little lobby, and then they have like a little cash register, and then they have an ensemble of a bunch of shirts, hand wraps, and things like that. In the background, I think they put like artificial turf, and then the boxing ring, and you see all the traditional boxing punching bags, speed bags, all this. And he also has his amateur belts and his national belts and tournaments and everything up mounted on the wall. It's really nice, man. Maybe online. I gotta get a few shirts. Cool. I gotta stop by, support that guy. Yeah, man. The shirts, I think they're only like 25 bucks. And I bought myself some and my nephews because they train. So I was like, yeah. But I don't know if he has a website online. He probably does. I wouldn't be surprised. Let me see. He should have a website online. It would be dumb not to. Oh, I don't know. Okay, so on his bio, he's putting the Ticketmaster things, but put Ruben Web via website on Google. I'd rather go in person. Yeah, man, I would, bro. It's pretty cool, It's pretty cool. Let me see if I can Dropbox myself that image so you can get a little example of what he is, of what the shirts are, bro. But they're pretty cool, and he usually has in all sizes. Come on. Where is it? But yeah, man, he teamed up with I can't find it, but he teamed up with an amazing artist, and he goes by Urban Legend on social media. I believe so. Hold on, let me find it real quick. Jesse Rodriguez. Yeah, probably I'm butchering everything. That's probably not even probably butchered everything. That doesn't even make any sense. I can't even find it now. Urban. Damn. I gotta find it later. I might be giving out the incorrect information. But yeah, man, he's got some amazing shirts. But yeah, Ruben's got a fight, bro, and I'm excited for him. Hopefully, he wins by knockout, and then hopefully top rank. Again, I don't know if it's a 3 or a 4 fight deal. Hopefully, it's 4. But usually, Top Rank does 3 fight deals with fighters. Obviously, if they didn't bring them up when they signed them to the amateurs, you've seen it with Devin Haney. They gave him a 3 fight deal. So I'm pretty sure they gave Ruben a 3 fight deal, and the third fight will be the final test, either for a championship belt or a top 5 fighter. So Ruben can be that guy, man. He can definitely be that guy, and he can definitely be that guy at 126. I think Ruben would give Robeisy Ramirez a very good fight. I think Ruben could beat Venado. Even Venado has gone on an amazing streak of fighting a lot of UK fighters. Luis Alberto, when he fought Ruben, they went almost in 2 different directions. Ruben ended up fighting Emmanuel Navarrete during COVID, and he lost, came up short a little bit. And Venado, just after beating Andy Vences from San Jose, he ended up beating Gabe Flores Jr. from Stockton. And after he beat those guys, and I believe they were both undefeated at that time, he went on to fight like Josh Warrington. He went on to fight not Lee Wood, but he went on this rampage of just beating and dethroning all these guys, and he accumulated those belts. So I know Ruben wants that. I'm pretty sure Venado is like, nah, I wanna beat Ruben because he also beat me. So there's a good little history right there and a little bit of a buildup. But yeah, man, one of the things that I like a lot about Ruben, but also I wish that he really maximized like momentum to build his own mega fights and popularize his fights, because he's got the IQ and the athletic ability of a $1 million fighter and more so. But you gotta hype and you gotta build a great like not just a team that can teach you boxing. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys ever seen $1 Million Baby, but Clint Eastwood teaches his fighter Willie everything that he knows about boxing, but he doesn't want to give him that big exposure fight because in the movie Clint Eastwood kind of talks about it. But Willie ends up leaving them, and he ends up going with a promoter that can, promote you, and you get your money and you get a title fight. So Ruben already has that mentality that he can be a champion. right? It just depends on which road he goes, but he needs to maximize that exposure, kind of like Terrence Crawford. You got all the skill, bro, but don't push people away when they try to build you up or, build a great team to give you like big fat checks. Cool, I got to stop by, support that guy. I'd rather go in person. Got you off topic. Yeah, man. Villa Torres Jr. in October. And of course, I'm a fan of the Vargas dynasty. Yeah, for sure, man. The Vargas dynasty is Fernando Vargas is doing well with his three sons, Amado, Fernando Jr., and then El General. I forgot what Amado, Fernando Jr., and Emiliano, I believe. So he's doing really good, man. Yeah, they got some really good upside, man. Let me go back to Jermell, man. Jermell has to be perfect versus Canelo, man. If he does not, he's going to get knocked out. Canelo right now is itching for a KO. He didn't get it against Triple G. And I know that, and he didn't get it with John Ryder. And even though I thought he looked extremely well against John Ryder popped him. And I know Jermell's got that grit, but he's going to have to be perfect in order to be victorious against Canelo. Canelo, a lot of people are assuming that Canelo has lost a step. A lot of people are assuming that he's got a lot of wear and tear. But the reality is John Ryder is just a good fucking fighter. He took amazing shots from Canelo. He took a lot of shots from Canelo. And those same punches that he landed on John Ryder, I don't think Jermell can take those punches. If you watch the two fights with Brian Castaño isn't a heavy hitter. He's a fighter like David Benavidez that throws a bunch of punches. He throws correct punches. He's got great punching technique. But he was contorting the body when he went low and hit the body of Jermell. Jermell felt those shots. And now imagine what Canelo could do. Right? And all these concerns for those that kind of hopped on late and don't really know what's going on. Jermell has been giving out interviews with Brian Custer, and on Boxing Scene, he says that he walks around at 168 because he can't gain a lot of weight and walk around 185 because he's never going to make 154. So he stays more or less, 15, 20 pounds in between. He can't balloon up in weight like his older brother. But now he's starting to say that I'm definitely not the naturally bigger fighter. And he's starting to say now that 168 is not my weight division. So I wonder if the guys that he's fighting and bringing in to train at camp, if they're getting the best out of him. Because if you guys go to Fight Hub, right, with Marco Villegas, Jermell also gives an interview, probably like an Instagram live, and he looks tired. Now, we know the rigors of camp are very tedious. They wear you down. They break you down. And especially when you're training 2 times, 3 times a day, you wake up at 5 a.m., get the early run, get maybe 4 or 5 miles in. Then you take a little nap. You eat a little something. Midday between 10 to 1, you have another training session. Maybe you hit mitts. Maybe it's physical training. And then you come back at 6 to 8 p.m. and then you spar or whatever, however camps break down. Everybody has a different flow. I'm sure that Jermell is exhausted. How you going to feel when you add those 14 pounds and you're fighting Canelo on fight night? You're going to be much more tired. And if I'm asking you to be perfect, bro, it ain't going to happen. Drew, Speed.
Yo.
Man? And, yeah, man, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Jermell Charlo is feeling the pressure of carrying the weight at 168 and sparring those dudes and bringing them in camp? Or do you guys just think it's just promotion?
No, I don't think he needs to promote anything. Dude, it's hard to tell because he's actually what does it mean that he's like not at that weight? Because it's cutting weight is actually the harder part, right? That's what you would think. Going down in weight is actually physically harder, so I'm like, are you trying to refer to the power that you feel from these natural 168 pounders that you're bringing in? I mean, I hope he's bringing in like 168 pounders, so.
No, you hope he's bringing in like 175, 185 pounders.
At the least, and
at least, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm saying, is he not taking the power really well? Because that's the really only thing I can think of. I mean, uh, he's lifting weights, but maybe he's just not doing it the right way. Like, it's there's a way to carry the weight, and I feel like when you move up in weight, it needs to be more. You need more better lateral movement. Um, being the bigger, or being the bigger guy, it's just that's just an advantage. It just depends how he's working out. If he's lifting weights and working on benching and all that, um, like it's gonna slow him down.
Well,
You
let's
know.
put it to the, let's break it down actually, because this paragraph is very interesting. He
Mhm.
goes, man, I really don't know just yet if I'm a 168-pound fighter. 168 is considerably still kind of like not my weight division. It's not
Mhm.
easy to make 168. I have to gain weight, and it's hard to gain weight when you're working really hard,
Mhm.
and it's really tough. So basically, what he's saying is, it's kind of like Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao walks around like 152 pounds. But when people ask him, like, does he cut weight? He goes, no. When I start training, the weight naturally starts to come off because you're running a lot, you're sparring a lot. So that's what's happening to Charlo in this situation. He
Mhm.
needs to be big, or at least be at 168.
Yeah.
But if that's his walking around weight, like you said, he can bench and add this muscle, because if
Mhm.
he does, he's gonna be slow and he doesn't want to lose his speed. Also, is this when he's doing his road work and he's putting in the miles and he's sparring, he's probably weighing himself after, and he's like, fuck, dude, I'm 163 pounds, 164. How the
Yeah.
hell am I supposed to gain to one? I want to be right now at 175.
Yeah.
So he's realizing just naturally he's not a 168 pounder, and this
Mhm.
weight that he's shedding in sparring, he's
Mhm.
almost like if he's cutting down to 154.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not
Because
saying that low right now, but I'm just saying that it's difficult for him to gain weight when he's doing all this sparring in
Mhm.
this hot heat of Texas, and like weight is falling too much for him.
I feel like him trying to
That's
gain
him.
all this weight is actually working against him when he's actually trying to move back down. Because in reality, he's getting all ballooned up now. He's
Yeah.
getting, he's getting all big. He needs to like when he's done with Canelo, he's gonna move down, and like he's gonna have to shrink back down again. And it's
Yes and no, because in that same interview, I don't know if it was with Brian Custer, they asked him that, and he goes, "You said that you're willing to go down to 154 and fight Bud Crawford," and he goes, "This if I beat Canelo, I can meet Bud Crawford at a catchweight at 160 or at 168." Because he goes, "I'm gonna have all the belts. I'm gonna be a two-time undisputed champion. Why would I go down to 154? Have Bud Crawford move up, and we can meet somewhere in the middle." And now that Bud Crawford's saying that he would fight Canelo at 168, well, if you're
mm,
willing to fight Jermell Charlo and he just moved up 14 pounds, why aren't you willing to fight Jermell at 168? It's not like he's going to
damn.
be a big 168 anyway. So I think he's not going to ever go down back to 154, to be honest with you,
Mm.
let alone for a Crawford fight, because Crawford is going to be like, you're no longer undisputed, bro. I have to go fight Tim Sue and then fight you for all your titles.
See, maybe Crawford spoke too soon, you know, and it kind of worked against him. However you want to see it, because they say it was it was a game plan by Crawford. It was like good, like he was just playing his cards right, But in reality, there's another dynamic, and that's Jermell, and he's seeing that, and he's saying, "Oh shit, this guy's saying he's willing to move up."
Yeah.
Now it's like, why not me now? Like the fuck.
Exactly, exactly right. Jermel's gonna be like, why not me? If I beat Canelo, I'm gonna be undisputed. But here's the thing, and this is where it's a lot of these fights aren't going to happen, because if Jermell beats Canelo, you
Hmm.
think Jermell? What's another? You think he's gonna want to fight Bud Crawford at 168? No, he's
That's
gonna want
bigger
to
fish.
rematch Canelo Alvarez and get a bigger payday.
Hmm.
So let's say, for instance, right now, it's 75-25, and Jermell Charlo's getting, let's say, 30%, 70-30. Let's be generous. Yeah, no, let's start off with 70-30. So let's say it's $100 million fight. Jamel's gonna get paid 30 million, right? If he beats Canelo, now maybe it's 50-50.
Hmm.
Or maybe it gets 60-40 and he gets 40%. That's still that 40%, it's gonna be incredibly higher than if he were to fight Bud Crawford ever,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Just because Canelo has a bigger fan base or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
So he's gonna have to fight him twice. Realistically, Bud is 36. If when Canelo and these guys, if Jermell, they have a trilogy or a rematch, right? If Jermell hypothetically were to win, When is he ever going to fight Bud Crawford? And how old is Bud Crawford going to be? Did Bud Crawford just turn 36 or is he going to turn 37? I think he just turned 36. So at most, he can fight him sometime next year after Cinco de Mayo. And where are we at with that? So again, I don't think a lot of those fights are going to happen. Now, let's say if Canelo beats Jermell, then I can see Crawford moving up and fighting Canelo Alvarez. But then are you ever going to fight Jermell?
Yeah.
Like, nah, he don't have the belts anymore. But it's like, it don't matter. You guys still having, you guys were talking and getting a shit to back. You know what I mean? What do you think about all this speed? Because I see that you unmuted your mic.
Yeah, so I wanted to say, ding, 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 ding. You got the $1 million winner right there. You have the man with the $1 million questions addressing the situation really to its natural conclusion, which is under what kind of circumstances can we even fathom a Terence Crawford versus Jermell Charlo, a Terence Crawford versus Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan fight? Under what circumstances can we see that? For the fuck up. This fucking guy right here is a fucking cold breaking on me so I can fucking crash onto this rear motherfucker. Anyways.
Hold on. Before I answer your question, how do you even know the full name of Canelo Alvarez?
I know. I was like, who the hell is that?
Who is Saul Canelo Barragan the third, bro?
His name is Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan.
Bro,
it's SSAB.
Bro.
I referred a HIPAA violation.
Do you know who Skip Bayless is?
Yeah, I know who Skip Bayless is.
Okay, he always refers to Tom Brady. See, the whole world knows Tom Brady as Tom Brady, but every time he addresses him, he goes, "His name is Patrick Edward Thomas Brady." He like says his whole birth name. It's like, why do you do that with Canelo? Because Skip Bayless admires Tom Brady, so that's why he calls him Patrick Brady Edward. He says his whole full name. Why do you do that with Canelo, man?
Greatness, bro.
Well, yeah. So there's I don't know if you know the history about all the men and women who've claimed something great in their life, but for the most part, every person that's ever been anything important in life, whether you're talking about leaders of the world or conquerors or anybody who's ever changed the world for the better, they've always been addressed by their complete name. Martin Luther King Jr., Robert Kennedy Jr., Bill William something Clinton, right? So that's the same thing with Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan, or double SAB for short. Whatever you want to call them, you always address the greats by their complete name. And in fact, it would be befitting for your children, if you ever want to bear children with your ladies and otherwise you want them to be great people in the world, allow them to have a name that will resonate and roll off the tongue, where you say their first, their surname, and their last name all together. First, second, and third. If everybody is forced to say the complete name, I can assure you those people will be something in life. Now, enough about my hypothetical ideas on how to achieve facile greatness. What I did want to say is, yes, you nailed it on the head. All the reasons why you explained the possibilities on the outcomes of SSAB and a Jermell Charlo fight, which is this the Iron Man we're talking about, or is this a Hitman? I think it's the Hitman, right? The Hitman, yeah, it's the Hitman. So whether Charlo wins, and I love the fact that we're talking this way. We're not discounting the fact that Jermell Charlo can win, right? We always allow him his respect and his accreditation.
No, actually, correction. Jermell Charlo is the Iron Man.
Jermell Charlo is the Iron Man.
Yeah, not the Hitman.
I thought he was the other.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's Iron Man.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Iron Man, Charlo, we're giving him his credit, right? We're allowing him the opportunity to influence us into thinking that he can win. I do believe that's a winnable fight. Why? Because of all the aforementioned reasons for why you mentioned that is okay. Alvarez hasn't completely dominated in the past few fights. He's had 3 fights in a row that have been very hard fought. He's lost one of them. He had to fight one of his old nemesis for retribution, and then the other one he beat a very game tough, rugged John Ryder. Now, in a better world, in a fresher Alvarez world, he knocks Triple G out, even though nobody's done that. But a 40-year-old, 39-year-old, he should be able to stop. But
No.
but Triple G has always been a legendary fighter, a great fighter, great jab. He's always been smart enough to bob and weave and get himself in and out of trouble. So he's good, right? But if you can't stop a guy you've already gone out with twice before, and you're much fresher and much more experienced, and you've accomplished much more in a shorter time than he has in the past few years, and you can't stop that guy, and then you can't stop somebody like John Ryder in your own backyard in front of 50, 60,000 Mexicans cheering for you, well, then you can just say that this is not the prime Canelo. Now, we know that Canelo has been nursing some kind of injury. And I wanted to ask you about this, Ricky, homie Ricky and Drew. When did this operation to remediate the injury on his wrist, when did that take place? After John Ryder or before? Because if it's before John Ryder fight, I don't think it improved them much at all.
Yeah, it was before the John Ryder, after Triple G. During the Triple G camp, he had a hand injury, and then he got surgery after the Triple G fight.
Mm-hmm. Kind of same results type of thing. You
Yeah.
know, like nothing really changed. But also his knee there was something wrong with his knee as well. That's why he was wearing like that knee brace. So that's why I was like, damn, like his movement's not as crisp as they used to be, you know, laterally because of that knee. But I mean, as far as him with Jermell, it shouldn't be an issue, bro. Like the more I'm hearing Jermell talk about himself, the less confident I am in him. You know, and it's
But you know what? But you know what, Drew? I mean, those are real concerns. You guys asked whether or not the reason why the Iron Man is speaking in this fashion is because he's it's all promotion or maybe a strategic ploy to have to leave an impression on the Alvarez camp on whether or not he's really prepared to take on a fight of this magnitude. I don't think so, because the one thing that we do know about these Charlos, right, is that they carry their heart in their sleeve. I whatever you want to say about him, drama, queens, loudmouths, brash, crass, whatever you want to say about them, one thing that they are is people that say what they mean, and it shows in their words and in their actions, right? So I believe these are, whether you like it or not, a very honest men. One of the honest men is honest enough to admit that he is suffering and he has mental anguish, and he's letting the world know by his actions and by his words. Another demonstration of honesty and forthcoming, whether it makes him look weakened or otherwise. And the other one is saying, listen, guys, it's not easy figuring out how to fit into a weight class, which is 2 from where I fight now.
Well, the thing is, Jermell's entire career, he's always sounded confident, you know, and it's always been this energy where he's like invincible and all this stuff, you know, and he's like, always like he's never not confident, you know, and for him to like talk like this, it's really concerning, and it shouldn't even be for promoting reasons, you know. That's not how you promote a fight. That's not even how you promote a fight, you know.
I agree.
It makes me not want to buy it now, you know. Like,
what I was going to say though is this one thing that I was going to say before.
Hold on, my bad, Speed. To reinforce that point, Drew, I think these are 2 things that are happening to Jermell Charlo. One is he got hit with some shit against his sparring partners that he was like, fuck. This power at 168 is way different from the dudes that I've been sparring to stay ready at 154. I think that's what's happening, right?
Uh
Because
huh.
when you look at Canelo, he actually leaks a little bit of sparring and they
Yeah.
interview the sparring partners that he's preparing. For
Mm-hmm.
example, he's sparring Ronald Ellis, right?
Mm.
Ronald Ellis is a guy who went like about 10 rounds or so with David Benavidez or 11. So we know these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Jermell is probably bringing in similar names to Ronald Ellis, and he's like, "Fuck, bro, these guys got some fucking skill." Now, here's
Yeah.
another thing. I'm sure Jermell has always sparred big dudes, right? But we've always heard, and I can pull up some interviews when Jermell and Errol Spence would spar. Jermell and Spence were having wars.
Mm-hmm.
So I bring all this because he just saw his brother in arms get
Mm-hmm.
completely fucking destroyed. This is my point B. Not only is in A is he getting hit by some big dudes when he's sparring just to prepare for Canelo.
Uh huh.
B, the heart and mind of what he saw Bud do to Crawford, I think it's really like kind of got him shook a little bit.
No,
Yeah.
I don't agree with that last part, and I'll tell you why. Because his own brother is going through some tough emotional turmoil, and he's completely isolated himself from that. He's chastised his own brother in public by trying to say, "Don't go there, don't talk like that, don't demonstrate this to the world." So he's his own man. He does not. There's no way that you can convince me to think that having witnessed his, I would say his another type of brother, and Errol Spence Jr. getting devastated physically, is gonna be equal or tantamount, or and much less in any form of fashion superior to the type of destruction of his own brother. If his own brother's undoing is something that's not affecting him personally, why would Errol Spence? These are men of battle.
Let
These
me
are
ask you
men
that
of
question.
war,
The
and there.
reason,
And I don't think he's doing that. The only thing that I can say is this: take out Errol Spence from the equation. Well, then guess what? Errol Spence, like you said, was his sparring partner, and now it's not a sparring partner because he can't have those type of wars with him. That's likely gonna take him a step back, because if you think about it, you know, Spence being a training partner is a very good thing for you. Take him out of the equation, it's going to leave a lasting impression. There's going to be a deficit.
I agree, but let me tell you why it could affect them and it is affecting them because he has this type of animosity, this bloodline animosity with his brother Jermall, which he doesn't have with Errol. So one is professional and the other one is very personal. So he can push his brother to the side and just be like, "Bro, we told you to stay away from that fucking chick."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We told you to, move a certain way. So he holds this anger
Yeah, I
towards his
feel.
brother where he can push him away, where he
Mhm.
doesn't hold that same energy with his professional partner, his brother in arms, his military combatant, right? And he looks at it as like, damn, bro, I be sparring this dude. And I just see him get disfigured. Here's another thing. Even though Jermall Charlo is going through this emotional distress and, lawsuit or, child custody with, all these things going on legally, right? He sees his brother in distress. He's not seeing his brother Jermall get disfigured like he saw against Errol, front row seats. So there's two big aspects that he's able to push one. I'm saying we know Jermell is a professional. It's like if I post you a question, oh man, Texas took a big ass L that night when Bud destroyed Errol. How can they ever recover? Was the same thing. Like you go to work the next day and you move on.
I think,
I
but I
gotta
think
think.
there's, but I think there is one dynamic though, and it's a twin brother thing. I think when they go in the ring, they do it for each other, and it's like they're the same person, and they're trying to fight for each other's image type of thing. That's why I feel like it pisses off Jermell because
Uh huh.
they're so identical that it just they feel some type of way when something happens to each other,
Yeah.
and that's how it is, bro. Like my uncles are twin brothers, and and they beef and they don't talk sometimes, but then guess what, they talk again, you know. So it's kind of it's like an inseparable
Yeah.
thing.
So again, the thing. Well, they're brothers. So what I'm trying to say is this, right? It depends on the kind of person that you think Jermell is. Is Jermell an impressionable fighter? Is he a person that gets traumatized by other stuff? Look, one
Nah, I
thing
don't.
I will say by dealing with a lot of people from Texas and the types of contracts that I've had before, uh, Texans are very resilient, and death and pain is a very common thing with them, right? I mean, you know, their cattle industry, a lot of them are ranchers. You know, this is just those life
They're
and death
Texas
cycles
strong.
that they're what I'm saying is that these things are not things that they shy away from, right? And if anything, they're very proud. Having seen their brother get devastated like that, he might be the type of person that says, you know what, I'm angry, I'm pissed
Mhm.
off, somebody's gonna pay for this, and he
Well, he
might
sure
just
ran.
find Alvarez like the punching bag he's looking for,
He ran away from
because his life might be
154
going.
for fighting Tim Sue and could have fought Bud Crawford. Decided to go to 168. I don't know about all that, man.
Yeah, I know, but
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know if Jermell's that proud. Because if he was that proud, he'd be like, "Fuck that! You ain't stripping me from my WBO belt. Let me go knock out this Australian kangaroo." And then he'd be like, "All right, bud, let's fight at 154." Yeah, but he made
yeah,
a business move and he went to 168 and fought Canelo. Shit, I'll go fight Canelo.
Yeah, but I think they stripped him after.
yeah.
I
But
think
you
they
can
stripped
tell.
him after, right? They
But
they
here's
uh
the
they negotiated the fight and then they
let me
stripped him.
let me tell you this: Jermell Charlo became undisputed, right? And he has never defended his undisputed status. In fact, instantly he got stripped of the WBO, and it's in the hands of Tim Sue. So you took me to tell me you stayed your whole career at 154, become undisputed, knocked out all these undefeated fighters, just to then sell your booty and go to 168 and fight Canelo,
Yeah,
bro?
Well,
but
isn't that the same thing that
Jamel.
Terrence Crawford is
And
doing?
defend, honor and defend your undisputed status
Mhm.
at
Yeah,
154.
but isn't that the same thing that Terrence Crawford is doing?
Well,
Isn't that
unfortunately,
almost the
he's
same
not
as
trying to
isn't
go
that
on.
almost the same? Isn't that almost the same exact thing what Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan is doing by having
It's
gone
similar.
up to
Well,
175 when he got all the belts? The only difference is the sanctioning bodies decided not to strip Canelo, but they could have, right? And the only reason that they decided to strip Jermell Charlo is after the fight. It's not like they gave him an ultimatum and said, if you take this tougher fight at 2 weight classes from where you're at, we're going to strip you. No, they allowed him to negotiate the contract. Once the contract is signed, that's when they demanded that he be stripped of that.
all right,
That's
so let me
exactly
ask
what
you
happened.
this.
In other words, they were messing with him
One,
politically.
when it comes down to Bud, he was already on the contract. He would defend it
It's
at
on you.
147, but contractually, Arrow he can't make 147 anymore, or doesn't want to. So he's gonna want to go up to 154. So Bud has to fight him. Now, what Bud can do afterwards, he can go down to 147. We don't know what he's gonna eventually do for his future. But what we do now is he's obligated contractually to fight Errol Spence, and they're going to do
Yeah.
whatever weight they're going to fight. As
I
for
think.
Canelo, I'm pretty sure he petitioned the sanctioning bodies. Let me get
Mm,
a voluntary, or let me enforce my mandatory WBA status to go fight the WBA champion at a higher weight in Bivol. So that's a
yeah.
completely different turn of events. I don't know if Jermell petitioned that. He
Mhm.
just out of the woodwork after a year layoff and hand surgery. Oh, I'm going to fight at 168 Canelo Alvarez, and there's nothing you can do about it because my brother couldn't do it, and the opportunity arose, and I didn't want to pass on to it.
And I'm
Yeah, I
sure
think.
that he would have been smart enough to
So,
have asked for that.
and
But
so,
unfortunately, they're not being as lenient
I
or
want to say something.
considerate of him.
Hold on, I want to say something to Vince. So I found out the information. We were talking about shirts earlier about Ruben Villa and who he teamed up with, a guy named Jesse Hernandez. I said Jesse Rodriguez. But anyway, you can find a little more information about that artist from San Francisco. He goes by Urban Aztec, and he makes some dope. Like he's a badass like a street, not a street artist, but just an amazing artist. He does murals, and he does these toys. They're like wood carvings. And anyway, I'm doing all that because I got the information wrong like 30 minutes ago.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, he goes by Urban Aztec, and you can check his catalog. Wow, let me actually screen share.
Yeah, screen share that.
and he makes some dope ass stuff. In fact, I have the Black Panther mural, and yeah, man, it's pretty incredible. But anyway, this is he's called Urban Aztec, right? And then if you go to toys, he makes these wooden carvings, and he teams up with like Marvel and stuff, right? So right now, this one is like Darth Vader. If it ever opens up, and they're amazing, bro. And they look huge, but they're like, I don't know, about 6 inches. Or this one's 10 inches, and it looks amazing. I have this one right here.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, the reason I bring him up is because Vince asked about he didn't ask about some shirts, but he mentioned Ruben Villa, and I was like, yeah, man, you can support the dude with buying some shirts. And this artist Jesse Hernandez, who goes by Urban Aztec, he designed a Dracula Ruben Villa shirt, and it's hella dope. And I have it. It's like $25. But anyway,
yeah, Ruben Villa has a very good shirt. There's one cool one that's it's the I think it's an 831. So it's a hand gesture.
Oh yeah,
that it's that his fingers are contorted in a way that it forms an 8 and a 3 and a 1. That one looks cool. Now I don't know if I think Mr. Vince is from the San Jose region, and I think he has family up down central area in Fresno. So I don't think he really is too interested in throwing up any kind of fingers up for another region, but it's still a very cool shirt. Very, very cool design.
I saw that he was throwing up the 831 with his fingers, unless like, because I was trying to figure out like what it was. But yeah, but it looks like a universal hand gesture, or like it's pretty cool because it's a hand wraps and fingers, and they form to be, where the Central Coast that Ruben Villa is from. But it is pretty cool. But going back to Jermell Charlo, right? So yeah, I think he's realizing, and then he's approaching this fight, and maybe he learned from Errol Spence and Bud when they went on their campaign of promoting their big mega fight. Either Jermell was being very respectful towards Canelo.
That's what I was thinking at first.
He learned from Bud and Errol that you don't really have to like be all turned up and angry all the time. Now you can be like, well, he's maturing.
Yeah.
No.
People say that people say they started a trend.
Right, exactly. That you don't really have to be like this fake animosity or like always be angry at the time. And it's not that Jermell is maturing.
No.
What I've noticed about Jermell is when
he's come to realization.
Fighters like Carlos Hatley,
you had it, Drew.
He gets turned up and angry. But when you fight with other races, like Brian Castano and Latinos or Canelos, he don't have that same type of energy that he has towards his people versus like the others, So that's one of the things that I've noticed. And, Jermell has said in interviews, like he admires and looks up to Canelo because he's very successful and he's very rich. And, he has a lot of respect for him. So he don't really need to be, but again, all these interviews that are coming out, I like this approach. I really like what he's saying. They're all factual, by the way. But I'm just kind of like, nah, bro, I've never heard you talk like this.
No, they're in-house. Well, and actually, if you go back on the rematch, the Charlo and Castano rematch buildup, he was getting in the face of Castano to the point that Castano had to ignore him, like look away from him and be like, listen, look at this guy, because the other guy was getting all up in his face and barking. So it's not necessarily that he's
bro, it's like this. It's like when
it has nothing to do with race is what I'm saying. It's the way, the energy that you put out, he's gonna put out. But I think, again, most importantly, guys, I think what it is that he carries his heart in his sleeve. And if he thinks he can beat you, he's gonna show it, and he's gonna be loud, and he's gonna be outgoing, and he's just gonna be angry. Guess what? I don't think he thinks that he can beat Canelo.
Yeah, well, he's showing that, and I think, what was I going with this? This was like, it's like Tank when he was fighting fucking Pitbull, and he ended up breaking his hand, right? He broke his fist or something like that. It's like him going up to him and saying, "Hey, I broke my right hand, so take it easy." It's like him saying that. You're so, but these videos are, he knows this is like, these guys are reporters. This is gonna get posted, you know? And just him speaking like that, it's just, and he's very prideful. You
I want to
hear
ask
his
you
talks?
guys this.
You hear
Are
him
you
talking.
Are you feeling excited about this fight?
It's kind of tampering. It's kind of tampering with the excitement a little bit, to be honest. It's kind of
But
like
even the whole build-up, even this fight that's happening, are you excited about this? Like, have they done their due diligence and actually promoted this fucking fight correctly?
even before, like, I wasn't really as pumped. I mean, the undercard helped it out. The undercard, got me juiced. But it's like I kind of, if it goes the way I believe it's gonna go, then I might go and look at my phone a little bit, and not pay attention to it a little bit. But we know the results, and it's kind of confirming a little bit more and more the more these videos are coming out of him talking this way. Really,
I'm gonna ask you something. Jermell Charlo drops Canelo.
I said this the
drops
other
him,
day.
not knocks him out or wins, just drops him. Like, he gets a little flash knockdown.
If he drops him,
what's going through your head just hearing that stupid ass statement?
I want to see that happen to Bivol.
Whoa! That's bro. What is up? Look. I asked you, Jermell, if he drops.
I know.
Canelo,
I'm a fantasy guy.
That's what went through your head. Like, I want to see that happen to Bivol. Like, what are you talking about, bro?
Sorry,
you're such a hater to Bivol.
Yeah, I know. Cause man,
let you recollect your thoughts.
I don't like the way that dude's moving.
Somehow drop Canelo Alvarez, okay? Because no one's expecting this, and in this world, in this sport of boxing, in 2023, I'm literally like expecting everything now, bro.
Yeah, I love that.
In terms of what I saw with Errol,
pound for pound,
and what Bud did to him, what happened to Fulton, what Emmanuel Navarrete did to Oscar Valdez, everything that I thought I knew about boxing out of all these 50-50 matches,
that would throw me.
When the fight ended, I was just like, bro, I know absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Like, even Teofimo Lopez versus Josh Taylor. Now, mind you, I won some bets on some of these fights. I've lost some bets in some of these fights, but I'm just like, bro, I absolutely know nothing about this fucking sport.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, because no one, I don't care who you are, unless you're like Joel Diaz. There's a few people that predicted that, Bud was going to beat him within 10 rounds.
Yeah, some people actually said
that. That to me is not shocking.
Yeah.
But if you were to tell me, bro, Bud is going to destroy him and he's going to disform his soul, disfigure his whole face, and he's going to look unrecognizable, having all bumped up and lumped up like the Elephant Man, David Lynch movie in the 80s, then I'm going to be like, bro, you're fucking crazy.
Like, how confident were you? How confident were you when Terrence, or when you were betting on Tio?
When he beat Josh Taylor? Well, not to deviate so far, but obviously one thing that I betted for Tio is not only did we meet the dude in person and he's won me money in the past by beating Lomachenko, but I kind of bet with my heart. I couldn't really tell you, especially how he looked against Sandor Martin and all these interviews that he was giving. His energy was extremely off. He was talking about suicidal notes and all these things going on. I wasn't confident. I just kind of bet with my heart when it really came down to the situation. And I like the odds, but not deviating too far, going back a little bit. Let me reel it back in. Because I'm just leaving everything up for grabs now. If Jermell Charlo were to somehow knock down Canelo, who's nobody ever done that to Canelo. Only one fighter, Miguel Cotto's older brother, made him do, a little chicken dance from one end to the other corner of the ring. What happens if Jermell somehow gets a little flash knockdown? Whether Canelo is off balance, I know you can't think about the future, but like, what's going to go through your head? You know what I'm saying? Because no one is giving, like, if you ask me, bro, I like Charlo, but I'm not really giving him a chance to win. 1 year off, of inactivity, hand surgery, moving up 14 pounds, fighting Canelo, who just had a good ass fight with John Ryder. Like, there's nothing that I'm like, bro, Jermell, you're not better than, Dimitri Bivol. You're not better than Triple G. And if these guys couldn't knock out or they did beat Canelo, but, I don't see you beating those because I don't think you're cut from that cloth. But if he somehow is, because 2023 has been such a shocking year, what's going to go through on, your head and your mind? Same thing to you, Speed.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Speed. Go ahead.
Well, what I wanted to say, right? Besides that, I think sorry, I was responding to Mr. Andres Martinez, who says Charlo should have. I guess he says Charlo should have stayed to fight Fandora, but maybe just forgot that Fandora lost his last fight by knockout. He should probably.
Tune up though.
Yeah, and it would, yeah, for a tune-up. It would if he was going to stay at 154, right? But I wanted to ask one thing, right, of you gentlemen before, because I completely missed the question. I was typing to this gentleman and I was reading something else that I found very, very interesting. And again, I told you this was going to be the case. The winner of Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford was going to dictate at what weight class the rematch was going to happen. So I told you that if I was not mistaken, Terence Bud Crawford had the last word on whether they fought at 147 again or 154. And I told you that pretended good things, because if he said at 147, to try to weight drain or to, you know, maximize the financial profit of defending undisputed at least once against his the person who he just beat with the facility at 147, then that would be the smart move for Terence Crawford, right? But of course, he's going to subject a fighter that's likely outgrown that weight class, and he's probably gonna get to fight that guy at 147, knowing that the guy will probably never make that weight. So that's likely a futile attempt to even do that. What I really believe that Terence Crawford would do is take the fight at 154, because one, he is not afraid of Errol Spence, whether it's at 147 or 154. 154, beating him there is going to prove that weight had nothing to do with the triumph that he had over the Texan. And thirdly, 154 would allow him to acclimate to the higher weight classes of 160 or 168. Should one of these winners of the September 19th, is it the 19th? I think it's the 19th fight between Canelo Alvarez and Charlo, should whoever win want to fight him there for an undisputed versus a two-time undisputed fight, a two-time undisputed versus a two-time undisputed. That would be one of the greatest things that can happen in the sport of boxing. Now, I think that would be the perfect step for him. Take the rematch at 154.
Because of what you just said, two-time undisputed versus two-time undisputed, you're kind of rooting for Jermell to beat Canelo?
Well, if Canelo won, oh, well, yeah, I guess you're right? If Canelo won, wouldn't he? No, they wouldn't be undisputed, because only Charlo would be able to become. Well, actually,
Jermell,
yes, Jermell.
It's a much simpler question. You just said if Jermell beats Canelo, he would become two-time undisputed, and then if he were to fight Bud Crawford, who's already two-time undisputed, if those guys fought, you know. So you're kind of almost saying that, like,
well, can Canelo become a two-time undisputed?
I want Jermell to win.
Yeah, well, can't Canelo become two-time undisputed by beating Charlo?
No. Because
Charlo's belts aren't on the line, because they would have to weigh under 154, so they're not on the line. See, right now Canelo is in a lose-lose situation, because if he beats Charlo, you're supposed to beat him. He's moving up 2 weights, and if he loses to Charlo, then he loses everything.
Yeah.
So there's no win.
Yeah. Well,
So it's kind of like if
that's true, actually.
There's nothing for Canelo to earn, because sure, it is a name, a reputable one, but not a reputable one at 168, one at 154. So Canelo taking this fight makes absolutely no sense, and lets me know that he's been ducking David Benavidez.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that.
It is, because if he loses to Charlo, dude, I can see him fucking retiring. You know, I can see him retiring. Depends on
want that rematch. And if he loses 2 times to Charlo, then David Benavidez is like, I want Jermell. Fuck, I want Canelo for. I want the belt.
Yeah. Like I said, they kind of absorb each other's star power.
David right now is Triple G. I want unification. I want belt. Give me belt.
Mm-hmm. He's David inactive though, no?
Who, David Benavidez?
Oh no, Triple G.
Oh yeah, I don't even know. Dude, I'm just enjoying retirement.
No.
Yes, Spence needs to retire. You can tell that he's not the same from the accident.
Yeah,
Now he needs to retire.
yeah,
What
I
I
don't think
think
so.
Spence needs to do, all right, is he needs to stay the fuck away from Bud
Crawford.
Yeah.
You need to stay away from him. B,
Real.
stay away from Tim Su. And C, just fight a tune-up. Go fight Sebastian Pandora. Go fight a Keith Thurman. Go fight somebody, get your confidence back. That gets you feeling good about yourself. Because right now, Errol probably hates his fucking self. He hates himself. Now I'm not saying I know he's in vacation with his love life, and I know they just went to France and Spain and all these things. So he's enjoying the fruits of his labor. But secretly, he's not enjoying it because as he's walking around, he's still probably feeling sore from his body, still pissing out blood, still trying to find his teeth. And the fight that just happened, he hasn't digested it because he just got destroyed about a month ago. And in that time frame, he's activated the rematch. So he didn't really get to enjoy that vacation. I guarantee you, it's something to keep his mind off things. But no, man, when you get destroyed in that manner, you at least want to have 2 to 3 months of just R&R. Let me just not think about boxing. Let me just heal up. Let me just rest. Let me just get fat. Let me just enjoy this.
Recoil.
Me activating that rematch clause, how in the manner in which he did it so instantly, lets me know he's not really enjoying anything.
Mm-mm. Yeah, no, I think
I mean, that's what I think. I could be completely wrong, but Errol might look at me like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
exactly. He might be. He might be. He might be like, do you know that I was like, maybe on narcotics for a whole month before the fight? Do you know that, buddy? Do you wait this by starving myself the last week? He could be doing all kinds of stuff, and he's probably laughing at you, thinking, buddy, you ain't know nothing. You know.
And Jesse Martinez goes, Fundora can beat Spence. So this is what I'm saying. Spence can also beat Fundora as well. Fundora can also break him down and hurt him worse. I wouldn't fight Fundora if I'm Spence. Hell, look, I don't know if he can do that, but what I do know is Fundora just got knocked out. So he's at least he's on a losing end, kind of like I am. One of the things that I'm not gonna do is I don't want to get my face deformed again against Bud Crawford. No, that's not for certain, right? But basically what I'm saying is Spence was the guy at 147. Kind of like Charlo is the dude at 154. Spence is a nobody at 154. He has no resume at 154. So guys like Brian Mendoza, Brian Castano, Jason Rosario, Erickson Lubin, all these guys can essentially beat Errol Spence. Errol Spence is not a multi-divisional champion. He hasn't fluctuated up and down in weight. He's beating guys at 147 his career. That's all he knows. Same thing with Jermell Charlo. So these questions of uncharted territory, they're more prevalent more than ever now.
Yeah, but Ricky, aren't you being a little too harsh? On the one hand, you say Errol Spence has not been a multi-divisional champion, and that somebody the likes of Eric Lubin might beat him. What has Eric Lubin ever done? Has he ever even gotten the belt? No. So how are you going to say that a guy who's never done anything is going to beat the guy who's a belt holder who's fought 3 champs before for 3 belts? It doesn't make sense. Look, I think we're discounting the potential. It doesn't matter. One big man beats another smaller man. That's the thing, right? One good man beats the smaller good man. But there's one smaller.
A good big man beats a small little man.
Yeah, small little man. Small little man.
Yeah, that's small little man.
Small little tiny guy.
A good little man.
Small little tiny microscope of a guy.
A little fucking dwarf.
A little gnome. So no. One big guy, one good big guy can maybe beat one smaller great guy, because Errol Spence is great.
But to answer your question about Erickson Lubin, again, Lubin is established and he's fought in dudes at 154. Yeah, he lost to Sebastian Fundora. Yeah, he got knocked out by Jermell Charlo in the first round, but he's fought him. He's also
he hasn't fought Banana.
Errol
He hasn't fought Hurd.
Guys, But the thing is, we don't know because his whole body at work resides below 154. You see what I'm saying? So again, Errol Spence might be the best at 154. He could also be one of the worst, or maybe a top 15 fighter or a top 10. We don't know until he proves that.
Exactly.
Beating Bud Crawford is not going to prove that. That's just a gimme bag. But
I think
Andres
I don't.
says, if they
Yeah,
can
no, I
make
don't
that
think so.
happen, some miracle, Danny Garcia and Spence would be a good name and a good comeback fight. Danny Garcia's at middleweight, and he fought Benavidez at middleweight, and I think he's going to be fighting Erizandi Lara for like the WBA that Triple G vacated. I could be wrong about that. I'm not.
And they already fought. I think they already fought, right?
But I would say
Yeah.
this: I would like we've said this before in the past. Errol versus Keith Thurman. That would make the most sense.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't matter what we want now. Errol has activated that rematch clause against Bud Crawford, and most likely, if you go look on Errol Spence's Instagram, it says 154-pound fighter. So more than likely, he's gonna, again, I don't know, to your point, Speed. I don't know, pending the, does Bud call the shots at what weight class?
He does.
Now that he has the upper hand, so I'm sure that he's going to fight Errol at 154 as well, because I'm pretty sure that's gonna benefit the older 36-year-old as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, if I'm Bud Crawford, I'll be like, hey, buddy, you think you're smart, but I'm smarter. I want to fight you at 146 because I want to defend what I earned all these years and what you limited me during these past 4 years. So you got to fight me at 147. If I call the shots, I'll fight you at 147 because I know your big ass is struggling to make that weight. That's what I'm saying.
But that's what you would do, right? That's actually not happening. It's happening at 154, correct?
Yeah, it's probably
no. Terrence Crawford has the last say at what weight that fight takes place again. That's how it happens.
But if you're a betting man, 154, right?
So by that notion, since he's very interested in fighting the winner of, Canelo Alvarez and
he should fight at 154.
So should he actually ask Errol, let's fight at 160 then?
No, I don't think.
No.
Bud is very interested in fighting the winner because Undisputed is on the line between Jermell or Canelo, whoever is whoever gets that victory that night. Why wouldn't he fight Errol at 160s? Be like, look, bro, don't worry about 154. I'm not looking to campaign there. I'm looking for one more big mega fight, and I want to fight these dudes at 168. And then, so let's, cut the shit and fight at 160.
Well, because of the things that you mentioned, right? We already played out the scenarios of what would happen if Jermell Charlo fights. Jermell Charlo has said that if he wins, he expects to take a rematch with Canelo because Canelo would immediately ask for a rematch. That's another whole year of waiting, right? That's 2 missed opportunities. That's going to be Canelo fighting, actually 1 missed opportunity. So like an average of 6 to 8 months for Terrence Crawford if the rematch takes place, because this fight's taking place in like 2-3 weeks. And then if Jermell Charlo wins, a rematch likely to take place maybe even likely to take place in Cinco de Mayo, which is like how many months away? 8 months away from September. So that's going to be 8 months on top of the 36-year-old who's going to be 37, who is probably still going to take another 3 months or 4 to negotiate what the fight between him and Errol Spence, and then wait that whole time. And then Charlo or Canelo are going to have to wait time to recover from their fight in Cinco de Mayo, maybe easily 3 or 4 months, and that might be an exact year. Yeah, so it's really like a whole year that Terrence Crawford is expecting to wait for that whole fiasco to resolve itself. So
yeah, I agree.
So
didn't Canelo say he had like 4 or 5 more fights left if he keeps winning?
Yeah, he's talking about fighting like another. Well, I think he said 4 or 5 more years.
Yeah, fight deal with PBC.
Wow. That's insane for him to think that way. It's like it doesn't look like he's planning on fighting for that long. Usually, you start to look this bad your second to last fight. I hope Canelo starts to pick it up or something because he just wasn't looking great. Against Bivol and against Ryder.
Yeah, so Canelo in the past that we know he has a 3-fight deal with PBC.
Yeah,
he had said that. He said 2 things. One is that he's willing or he wants to retire at the age of 35. But more importantly, he said that I will retire from the sport of boxing when I no longer love the sport of boxing.
Mm.
So that could be up to hell 45 if he still has the love and passion for it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
one of the things that we know about a lot of our favorite boxers is that they don't know when to call it quits,
Mm-hmm.
right? And hopefully Canelo holds up to his word and retires at the 35 because yeah, maybe he still has that passion, that fire in his belly to achieve great things, but at the same time it's like you are getting near 70 fights, bro. You
yeah,
are
but
fluctuating a
But the
lot.
thing is this: even if Canelo retained that passion for the sport, the fact of the matter is that Canelo, as a business uh, entity himself, he's coming to this moment in his life where his other obligations require him to distract himself from that passion on the sport, right? Like, for example, just a couple of days ago, maybe this past week, he launched a new alcohol. I think it's an alcoholic beverage. So he's branching out into other business ventures. Those type of business ventures aren't as easy as just putting your name on the label and saying I sponsored this. Sometimes it requires you to make business deals, show up to events, sign shirts or whatever. Make commercials or other type of adverts. There's a lot of things that encompass business ventures that are that involved, right? So there's that. Another thing that we know is a quickly developing passion of his is the sport of golf. He
Yeah.
golfs a lot, and golf itself is a very involved sport. You can't just pick up a club and start being a golfer. I mean, you could, but you can't be good at it. And trust me, I've tried.
I used to say
and in
golf is
fact,
nice.
here's the thing. Here's the truth. Canelo has tried to be a boxer because I've seen him. I was in his entourage when they came over here to Carmel Valley about 2 years ago now. Yeah, it's probably been about for the pro-am. We had professionals and amateurs, and he became he partnered up with this professional. I can't believe who I can't remember who he was, but he was doing pretty good keeping up with that guy. But of course, he still did mediocre. Like he was eliminated at the third game of the 4 day weekend, so he didn't make it to the fourth round. But nonetheless, for three, that's pretty good. Maybe he even got eliminated at second because I think our game was on a Friday, and he did pretty good. He's a funny guy, by the way. He's pretty, but don't mess with him too, though, because he'll joke when he wants to. But if you mess with him, he'll. But
Yeah, I've seen
anyways,
him.
I
Yeah.
wanna I
Go ahead.
wanna inform you guys on a little thing. So I like to bet, and on Bovada they have Canelo minus 350, and then they have Charlo at like at plus 255, 275. Right? Basically 3-1 favorite. Canelo is you know,
mm,
Yeah, that's
pretty.
pretty
That's
good.
pretty close.
That's pretty close.
That's
Yeah,
pretty close because
that's
for a guy that's moving up 14 pounds, you would think like, look, out of respect to Charlo and what he's accomplished and who he's fought, right? Like we know you're a tough dude. We know that you can pull
yeah,
the upset. But is it a 3-1 odds? Like, mind you, Andy Ruiz, when he beat Joshua the first time, he was a 14-1 underdog. He was plus
yeah.
1,400.
You put $100 on that guy.
Is that unknown of a name, but we don't know what fighter he is at 168. Like, if he were to let's just mention some names. If Jermell Charlo were to fight Caleb Plant, how would Jermell Charlo look against him? Do you think he beats him?
No, I think he
Mm,
gets outboxed. I think he gets outboxed, but I think he does have. I don't know, man. We got to see, man. This is such a variable. We don't know
Okay,
how he
let me
carries
ask
the
you
weight.
this. How well do you think Jermell Charlo does against Callum Smith, Billy Joe Saunders, hell, John Ryder?
They all give him a tough time, bro.
Yeah, Jermell is having a hard time he ain't knocking those dudes out.
Maybe you know what? Maybe we're underestimating Jermell's capability, right? I mean,
No, 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 no.
one of his sparring partners was a great, way better mover than any of those guys. Ruslan Di Lara.
But who's actually been successful at this?
But check this out. When Jermell was sparring Erislandy Lara when he was with Ronnie Shields, and Ronnie Shields had Jermell, Erislandy Lara, now David Morrell, right? We don't know if Jermell Charlo was getting the best out of Erislandy Lara. In fact,
no, we're not saying that.
Things that we do know is that even though he was sparring Erislandy Lara, what does Erislandy Lara have to do at 168? What does he have to do at 160? Erislandy Lara barely moved up to 160, and he fought. Last I saw him fight was Gary Spike O'Sullivan, the guy with very, tapatio-looking twirly mustache.
He dominated him.
But Gary Spike O'Sullivan was landing hands on Lara, and Lara's 40 years old. So again, those names that I mentioned that Canelo has beaten, I guarantee you, Jermell ain't fighting those guys ever. You see, but they're willing to do so against Canelo. Why?
Yeah, but you know what? He beats them. You know why? Because those kind of fighters are mobile fighters. They're back-footed fighters that are always giving the impression that they're running away from the action. It's hard.
John Ryder,
huh?
Not Callum Smith or John Ryder. Those guys.
No. Yeah, those guys are tough. Those guys are the ones that are gonna give him trouble if he decides to stay at 168.
And also,
well, actually,
couldn't knock out or knock down Caleb Plant, and you're somehow gonna tell me Jermell Charlo can do that?
Exactly. No, I don't think he would. But I don't. That doesn't. We're not talking about knocking him out. We're just talking about whether he has the skill set to beat him. And I think that he would fare well against the movers because, the pot shotting here and there and always giving out the real estate in the ring, that's not going to fare well against the more famous fighter. And secondly, he has had Erislandy Lara as a sparring partner. In fact, I here's the thing, though. Any come forward fighter that has fought Jermell, which is basically the majority of them, or somebody that's willing to stand there in front of him, has been stopped by him. So, yeah, he's a good fighter, guys. We're underestimating the potential of Jermell.
I think we really are. I think we're being realistic because Jermell, we've seen him lose already. We've seen him lose. We've seen him get a draw.
Against who?
He lost.
Wait. No. He won that one. I think he lost that first Castaño, or he drew on the Castaño one.
BoxRec don't show that, but
yeah, no, of course not. But yeah, okay. I see what you did there.
No. Actually, we do know that Jermell lost against
Tony Harrison, right, Drew?
Yeah, so he knows how to lose already at his own division.
No, because he never accepted that as a defeat. He knows he got fucked over.
You know who also lost before? Plant.
No,
and who else?
Also lost before?
Callum Smith.
Alvarez.
Exactly.
He took that defeat hard when he cried against Floyd, bro.
Did he?
He absolutely he did. And
is there like
Eddie
a Loma
and Chepo Reynoso? They were like, "No llores, mijo." Really? Orgulloso. And then he didn't cry against Bivol, but he put on that little pink little hat because on that night,
I'd be pissed.
Pink trunks and pink gloves, like
I'd be mad at Eddie. I'd be mad at Eddie, like, ya cállate, güey, I'm not estoy way.
Nah, look, man. Listen,
what the hell?
And if we're talking about somebody that knows how to lose, it's Canelo, because he's lost before.
Yeah.
Whereas Jermell never has accepted that Tony Harrison fight, that loss. Like, he'd be like, nah, bro, I'm undefeated. Canelo knew that he got outboxed by Floyd, and he knew that he got beat by Bivol. So there is no dispute when it comes down to that. So right now, I look at Jermell Charlo as an undefeated fighter. The same undefeated fighter that Kell Brook was when he moved up and fought Triple G, which he gave him good fight for 5-6 rounds, and then he got his orbital destroyed. Just because I'm seeing this tendency with Derrick James and how arrogant Derrick James is, right? Because one of the things you're supposed to do is protect your fight. And I felt that he should have protected Spence by stopping the fight after the 7th round, and he didn't. And then I also think he's not protecting Jermell right now with this Canelo fight, and I think Jermell's going to get his jaw broken.
Yeah. No,
But
yeah,
at
he's
least,
gonna
but
break
hey,
him.
it's all in the name of making money, right? So
Yeah.
you know,
No, he's actually getting his money.
the ends justify the means. But I think
But I
Jermell
wonder if
has no chance. Bro.
I wonder if retrospect, if how Jermell's gonna look at this decision that he made to to fight Canelo. Like, is he gonna regret it? I wonder if it's gonna be beneficial to him. When because he's gonna lose, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure. But this
I don't
boxing
think he's
game's
gonna lose. He's gonna get knocked out, bro.
yeah. So I wonder if he's gonna actually look at the money and look at his resume and see the opportunity that he has, and I wonder if he's gonna say that was worth it because I've gotten more opportunity. Like, I wonder if he's gonna get more opportunity, or it kind of fucked him over in a sense,
Let me
No, it's
ask
a
you.
good opportunity. It's a good opportunity, guys. He's fighting a shoe-in Hall of Famer.
I know.
Just
I just want to
even
Jermell's
losing
got
that
a
fight, imagine the level of experience you're gonna get after that fight. The
Mhm.
great fighters after a defeat become greater. That's
Oh
exactly
yeah.
what Canelo Alvarez did when he lost to Floyd Money Mayweather. He became greater, and
So you think Errol Spence is gonna be greater than the ass whooping he's gonna learn
it
from?
depends on it depends
See
on the
that?
person. It depends
Yeah.
on the person. It really does depend on the person. That's why
Well,
we
let me
don't
tell you this.
know.
Canelo, remember one of the things that I've always talked about, and I stand on this, is the timing of events. Canelo was 22, 23 when he fought Floyd. So he had a whole lot of room to grow, right?
Physically.
Same could not be said against Errol Spence. Now, here's another thing, right? Because of his age and in the manner in which he got beat. See, Canelo got outboxed. He got schooled. Errol not only got outboxed and schooled, bro. I can't even explain what kind of ass whooping that was, bro. That's like some Floyd Arturo Gotti status. And when you're undefeated and you're unified and you receive that type of ass whooping, everything, you gotta start questioning who you are as a man or as a fighter. You gotta start questioning, maybe do I bring in a strategic or a nutritionist, or I gotta bring in a strength and conditioning coach, or maybe help my homie Derrick James because he's training a whole lot of other fighters that are in a whole lot of huge ass fights.
Mm-hmm. Give
So
him a break.
because of how you got destroyed, you have to make changes in your camp. I'm not saying you got to cut off people. No, I'm just saying you got to integrate more people into your camp.
I think
Because Bud Crawford's got 3 trainers, and 3 trainers are better than 1. So
Yeah. So
on that note, I want to say this. I'm just joking about Jermell Charlo. I think he's got a good chance about Canelo. I wanted to bring something light to you guys. Every single fight that we thought that was 50-50 this year, the smaller man has beaten the bigger man. So, for instance, Navarrete was moving up, and he beat Oscar Valdez, who was already at 130. We thought it was 50-50. It wasn't. The smaller man in Teofimo Lopez, right, beat Josh Taylor, who's a huge 140-pounder, right? The little man, Naoya Inoue, who fought at 118, moved up and beat the bigger man at 122. Supposedly, he was a bigger man.
Yeah, slightly.
Davis, who had fought as low as 126 early in his career and as high as 140, fought Ryan Garcia, the perceived bigger man. So all these little guys, Bud Crawford, who started at 135, being light in the ass, beat this huge fish at 147. Jermell Charlo being the little man in this situation, fighting Canelo Alvarez. Because we obviously don't know. Well, I don't know nothing about boxing, apparently. Is Jermell Charlo, the little man, going to beat Canelo?
you know what? Hopefully so. Hopefully so.
Yeah, you were saying.
Hopefully so.
Yeah, hopefully so. I love upsets.
No,
I love upsets. I love shockers. I love dude. I'm gonna pay what, like $100 for that fight? You think I just want to see run of the mill ass whooping by Canelo? Shit, I don't. I want to see. I wanted my jaw to drop, slobber to be dripping out, screaming like a madman, thinking about what the hell did I just witness. That's what I'm paying for. In fact, if that's not what you're getting for, what are you doing it for?
And I think Jermell Charlo was knocking on that Hall of Fame door once he beat Castaño. When he faced him the second time, he was knocking on that door. And I think this fight will break him into that door of Hall of Fame. Like, no question, if he beats Canelo, if he knocks him down, he deserves a rematch.
I think Jermell is already a Hall of Famer because no one has ever been undisputed at 154, so he already has that stamped in,
Yeah.
right? Now if
And I
he
think he
beats
beat four
Canelo,
champions. Did he
now
beat four
if he
champions, homie Ricky, or what? Or three?
he beat, I think Jason Rosario
For
had two
one.
of them. Um,
Oh,
so I think
yeah.
that's where he beat him, because Jermell had always the WBC belt, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And when Jarrett Hurd beat Erislandy Lara, Jarrett Hurd had two of the belts, right? And then Jarrett Hurd lost those belts to Julian J Rock
Banana.
Williams. And
Oh.
then Jason Rosario beat J Rock, and I think he
Uh,
collected two of those belts. So when they fought, it was a unification bout. I don't think Charlo had three of the belts. I think Jason Rosario had the WBA and the WBO, or maybe the IBF, I believe.
mhm.
Yeah.
And then Jermell had the other two. So
Yeah.
I think
Oh, that's the one fight with the banana where he like
actually,
tickled his belly button and he fell down
Oh,
to the ground seizing, right?
Ricky,
wait,
they Rick.
actually, you're right. I think he did fight four champions because I just said a bunch of lies. Brian Castano had one of the belts. So when Jermell beat,
What do you
uh,
mean Brian Castano had one of the belts?
yeah, I
Yeah,
went
he
through
did.
this the other day. He had beaten
WBO.
Patrick Teixeira. He beat a Golden Boy
No.
fighter, Patrick Teixeira, for the
Oh, that
W.
was a vacancy.
Yeah, that was a vacancy, and
That's right. That's
Oh,
right. That's right.
had one of the belts. So I
Yeah.
think Jason Rosario or Jermell, one of those dudes, had two belts, and
mhm.
then they ended up fighting, and Jermell ended up collecting all three of them. So I don't know if
Yeah.
he already had two or Jason Rosario had the two, but either way, I think he beat three or four champions to become undisputed.
That
He
was a
beat.
missed opportunity by Patrick Teixeira, who was with the Golden Boy camp at that time.
Yeah,
Golden Boy was hedging all of his money on the Patrick Teixeira, the Brasileiro, that he would fight and win against Brian Castano because then he would have one of the belts and then he'd be able to force a PBC fighter to cross over, or at least he to have one of his fighters to fight a PBC fighter because PBC was really holding all their champs snug and
So,
tight to their side.
so he beat a dude named John Jackson for the WBC world title. It was a vacant shot on Erislandy Lara versus Vanes Maritosian undercard. So that was the co-main, and so that's when he won that. That's back in 2016.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, he's been champ since 2016 with the WBC title.
Wow, that's very that's impressive. That's
Yeah.
a long reigning champion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Charlo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's been a champion for like at least a decade.
2016. Yeah,
That's
so almost
that's 7 years then.
7 years.
Almost as long as you're getting close to Bernard Hopkins. I think Bernard Hopkins held his for 8 or 9 years, like almost a decade.
Mhm.
Impressive.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
All
Yeah,
right, let me say this, man. How do you guys feel if all this were to happen, right? Jermell beating Canelo Alvarez, they're most likely will have a rematch, all these things. Where does that leave David Benavidez?
I feel bad for him.
On the outside looking in. Like the song says, just on the outside looking in, waiting to see if he can pick up the scraps afterwards. You see, of these guys going to war, and that's okay because if you've noticed what the Davis Benavidez camp has been saying, the homie Ricky, they are moving past Canelo. They
Mm-hmm.
are giving him his respect and saying, yeah, you know what, Canelo's a great champ. I don't want to say nothing, but I really don't think he ever wants to fight us. So we're moving on. We're just going about our way. We got planned. We got Jermell Charlo. If he ever comes back, we're gonna take Morel, maybe, or something to that effect. They're moving on. They're not gonna wait on these guys. And in fact, I don't think they ever even considered Jermell as one of their future opponents.
I think they did. They were looking
Now
at
they
him
did.
before. The dad was actually calling for it. He's like, I think Charlo beats him. I don't think Canelo's focused anymore. So I think he's like prepared to you know, um, give him an offer or just kind of start talking about that fight. Because he doesn't believe in Canelo. Yeah, and it might be the hater in him, but he's trying to call bullshit and he thinks Canelo's not focused anymore.
Let me ask
Yeah.
you guys this, because you guys bring some very interesting points. Is this a big mistake for Benavidez to look the other way and not try to strip Canelo of one of those belts? Like they stripped, like Tim Tszyu put the pressure on Jermell and got him stripped, like many fighters did to Josh Taylor and they got him stripped. Why can't David strip Canelo for one of those belts and be like, look, bro, you want to move on? Cool. I don't need to fight you. Just give me what I'm fucking rightfully due, which is a championship opportunity to become a champion that you have failed to give me, and somehow you get passed away by fighting Bivol, a voluntary, and then another voluntary in Jermell Charlo. If you're Benavidez, bro, you gotta be angry, bro.
Yeah, it's his ability to put butts in seats. Simple as that. And
You
I
just had
think
a pay-per-view with Caleb Plant, though. Even
yeah,
though
I think
it didn't do all that great, like I still put butts in seats. Maybe 100,000 people bought that pay-per-view. That's good numbers.
yeah, I
Well,
think
this is my theory, right? Uh, Charlo has already been a champion at 168. He's been two times a champion at 168,
Who?
and but I mean, sorry, David
Oh, okay.
Benavidez has been a two-time champion at 168.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows that holding a belt doesn't really necessarily make you a millionaire or make you a television star, nothing like that, because he's never been. Right, he's never been in pay per view. Well, he most recently has been in pay per view, but it never really opened up the doors for him. I think he must have somebody advising him. I'm not going to say any names, but I think somebody's advising him and saying, listen, let all this smoke clear. If everything works out fine, the big red is going to be standing tall and triumphant. And you got dibs at that guy for undisputed. You will beat the man who beat the men in one fell swoop. You will be the guy holding all the belts. Do you want to fight for one belt? Do you really want to strip him of one belt so that this upcoming fight with your partner in business in the PBC, do you want to make this a 3-belt fight over a 4-belt fight so that one of our guys from our side of the street can keep it, so that maybe you can fight for him, or maybe you fight the winner? I think somebody's advising them saying, listen, bro, just shut up. I'll put you on pay-per-view. I'll give you some money. I'll give you some good competitive fights that'll build you up. We already know how Canelo moves. He doesn't like a person that just talks a lot. He likes you to fight big names, get some heat behind you, some momentum, and then he'll fight you. And you still ain't done that.
I think they they pulled a slick move, bro.
Wow.
You know what I think? They pulled a slick move, and you know, they Jermell, he's getting stripped right when that bell rings. You
Yeah.
know, so they can actually say, hey, this is undisputed versus undisputed. You know, so they're just trying to grab that money that they can get from that type of hype, and try to, you know, and try to like cash in on that. But people know the truth. People know that he's actually not going to be the champ. You know, he's actually not the undisputed champ anymore. It's really
At 154.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
Dude, okay, hold on,
it's
man.
really
Hold on.
Tinzu. What's the concern, me or Speed?
But both of you guys, look,
Oh,
man.
man.
Man, this guy's always on some stuff, man.
Yeah.
Everything
He's
we
always
say.
like, you
Oh, listen,
guys,
before you
you
hop
guys.
on and smoke us, to Mr. Andres Martinez, right? Benavidez fights the other Charlo. That's simple. I don't think Charlo might ever come back, and he would never just start off by fighting a Benavidez for his return back after 2.5 years or 3. And otherwise, Mr. Andres Martinez says, shout out to my homie Joel Diaz for the B-ball fight, Coachella for life. I'm not too sure if I stopped by in Coachella when we were on a route down south and east to Chandler, Arizona, October of last year. Beautiful city, by the way. I really love the weather of the Phoenix region, Mesa, Arizona in October. It was perfect. We were welcomed by thunderstorms and what they call a monsoon. Like a monsoon is what they call it, or a typhoon. I forget what it is. But anyways, it's a desert that all of a sudden starts to rain and you see thunder. No, really, it was amazing. I'm telling you, this is honestly the truth. It was hot as hell. And then as soon as we started approximating ourselves to the city of Phoenix, all of a sudden it got real dark, and then thunder, and then rain. And it was just amazing. But the weather was nice afterwards in the daytime. But that was the way that we were welcomed. Great experience. We stopped by Coachella or somewhere over there at a truck stop, and I ate a sandwich from Arby's. I haven't seen an Arby's in about 25 years. When we used to have one here in the city of Salinas, California, they
Oh yeah.
replaced that 25 or so years ago, or maybe even 30 years ago, for a Jack in the Box. And ever since then, I haven't had an Arby's.
Oh
So I
shit.
stopped by and I picked myself a Reuben sandwich. I told that guy, give me extra roast beef. And man, oh man, man, oh man, they got the meats.
They got the meats. Oh yeah.
Okay, smokers, homie Ricky.
Yeah. Smoke me.
Uh
Roll me.
shit. Look, man.
Roll me up.
I actually kind of forgot what you had said. Oh, you said something about uh big fights, right? You were like, Canelo likes fighters that have big fights. That's why he has fought nobody. David Benavidez. He only has one fight. Don't ever disrespect myself. Remember that one quote that he said?
Yeah.
He was referring to David only having one big fight, and I guess that big fight was Anthony Durrell, right?
Mhm.
So I'm getting a little frustrated with Canelo, with him, thinking that he has so many big fights, and these other fighters like Crawford, because he said the same thing to Crawford. Look, man, you only have one big name, one big fight, and that's Errol Spence. And Bud Crawford responds to, bro, you guys are delusional. Here we go, that I only have one fighter on my name. All right. Same thing with, I'm going to have to ask Canelo Alvarez, bro, how many big fights or big names does Jermell have on his resume then?
How
Is
would you
Jason
ask him in
Rosario
Spanish?
a big fight or a big name? Is Brian Castano a big fight or a big name? So it's kind of like we talked about this yesterday, the definition of what does it mean to have a big name? Because if you look at Canelo, you guys all might say, shit, Canelo's been fighting big names his whole career. In his past 30 fights, they've all been big names. So was Amir Khan or Liam Smith, Chavez Jr., John Ryder, Rocky Fielding, Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant. Are these big names? So how does it
Big
Canelo
enough, buddy.
with everybody? These are big names, but yet somehow David Benavidez has only an Anthony Durrell, right? Or Crawford has only an Errol Spence now. Or who does Jermell have? How many big names does he have? So this is a very weird situation. I find myself kind of like defending or opposing Canelo, because it's just kind of like they have to ask him, bro. Just
Well,
like
it's like this, homie Ricky.
find what a big name is.
Well, it's like this, homie Ricky. Canelo has fought 60 fights or more, right? What do you think? He's going to have 60 incredible fighters? Hey, can you even count 60 incredible fighters between 147 to 168? 60 incredible fighters.
For sure.
No. This guy can. I forget. This guy can. He's got one of those photographic memories.
You said pornographic?
Photographic. Homie Ricky, you kicked off this live. I apologize. I was out there in the hills of Fort Ord looking for some for this one thing, right? Anyways, I got I hopped on a little late, but you were talking about how Jermell Charlo's been discussing how it's been hard for him to really acclimate himself to that weight class of 168, and that he might not come back to 154 to take on the narrow Terence Crawford fight, right? Okay, there's a couple of troubling things there. For one, it's absolutely true that coming down in weight is much harder a task for a professional athlete to do than to stay in at a high weight class, because all you have to do is perhaps work out less. But here's the thing, though, that it leads me to believe two things. One, the walking around weight of Jermell Charlo is not 200. It's probably closer to like 175, 180, right? So that every time he works out, he's already losing a lot of weight. Every time he's sparring, he's losing a lot of weight, to the point that he's already coming down to levels much closer to where he's at 154. So naturally, the only way to try to gain weight would be through like eating more protein and building more muscle and eating more. And we know that that is something that fighters have had some challenge with, because when Alexander Usyk made the jump from cruiserweight to heavyweight, which is basically you just have to pass over 200 pounds, but he still needed to be competitive. He went up to 220, and then most recently, I think he fought like at 230, and mostly he had to eat a lot. He was complaining about how he had to eat like 6 times a day to get enough calories so that he can overcompensate for what he was burning out and the rigor of exercise. So it is much easier to come to keep in weight than it is to shed it. But when you're trying to gain weight and use
Yeah.
it as muscle, it's very hard,
Almost,
absolutely hard.
I almost feel like, when you're punching the bag after you like hit some weights, depending on how heavy you're lifting, like sometimes people just don't know that you're supposed to actually, in boxing at least, you're supposed to go lightweight and you're supposed to go fast. You're supposed to do explosive movements. But yeah, I wasn't doing that, and it felt like I was fighting. I was punching the bag in my dreams or something. You know how that feels? You're in a fight in your dreams, and you're like you're going so hard, but you're going slow at the same time. Like your body's just like your body's just moving a lot slower because it's just stiff. And if you're moving, going on your way down, your body, you may feel like shit, but your body's so fluid. It's like it's just popping, like it's just responding quickly, and it's just different, bro. Like when you're trying to gain weight, I'm just trying to imagine trying to gain 13 pounds of muscle and trying to move fast. Like, how are you going to be fast, and actually be explosive? Like, you're going to be you're either going to be tired of keeping your hands up, or you're just going to end up getting put down by body shots because you're so tired. All that blood, is going to your muscles. It's supposed to go to your brain, and that's how you get knocked out easier.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, how is it even possible to
Well,
feel confident in gaining 13 pounds? That's some Roberto Duran shit, right?
well, we've seen
Whoa.
Canelo do that.
Yeah.
You
But
see,
he's also done it gradually, the homie Ricky.
Yeah, he was.
but Canelo has fluctuated a lot in weight. Like when he fought Liam Smith, that was at 154, and then he went 10 pounds, and then fought Chavez Jr. at 164, and then I think he went back down and fought Danny Jacobs at 160, and then I don't know, maybe he fought Rocky Fielding at 168, and then he moved up to 175 to fight Sergey Kovalev at 175. So
Yeah.
I don't understand. Look, when I've seen Canelo, I just feel like what I've seen, pure observation, I just see his back get wider.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't see lonja on his abs, but I just see like just broader and wider.
Yeah.
For those that don't know what lonja is, that's Spanish for flab.
Yeah, or love handles or some shit. Now,
Yeah,
as
love
for
handles.
Jermell, like going back to what you were saying, Drew, it's either I don't know how you're going to have speed, explosive, and power when you're trying to gain weight.
Exactly.
Essentially, what happens is you're gonna have to lose one of those,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna use the other two attributes to compensate for the lack thereof of the one you're losing. So, for instance, if you're adding weight, you're gonna add more mass and power, but you can be explosive and powerful, but you might not be as fast. You're gonna lose the speed, or you can be speed and explosive, but you're gonna lose the power. Or you can have, the other one, speed and power, but you're not gonna be explosive in the same like Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? You can be fast like Canelo in terms of like, combinations and shit like that. So I feel like it's gonna be one or the other. Actually, that last sentence doesn't make no goddamn sense. In terms of like the speed and power, and you're gonna like explosion. No, because like how you gonna be powerful and have a lot of speed, but somehow
it's difference.
Yeah. So I just feel like that's gonna happen with Jermell. Now, to this point, I'm not really concerned about Jermell's weight, right? Or his punch resistance, because in reality, it's this. Even if Jermell had 10 fights at 168, or he had experience fighting at 168 and before, so did Callum Smith, so did John Ryder, so did Billy Joe Saunders, and so did Caleb Plant. But here's the thing. None of those other 168 pounders hit as hard as Canelo Alvarez.
Mm-mm.
You see what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
saying? The fights that Billy Joe Saunders had at 168 or Callum Smith in the World Boxing Super Series tournament, none of them were able to hit him so hard in the arms where he became
Numb.
essentially immobile and it
Yeah.
got all swollen. But
Mhm.
Canelo can do. So basically what I'm saying is there's nobody that can prepare Jermell Charlo for Canelo.
Mm-mm.
Now, I can't say the same in terms of who can Canelo get to prepare for himself for Jermell. Because like I mentioned earlier, those three fighters that I named are better than Jermell. You see, Jermell is an amazing fighter at 154. I'm not doubting that. Resume and his accomplishments speak for that. I don't have to tell you that he's great at 154 or a Hall of Famer at 154. But at 168, there's no one that you can bring in to emulate Canelo. You can. Brian Castano has a similar style to Canelo, but he doesn't have his grit, his intellect, and the knockout power in both hands. You see, Jermell is the best at 154 because he's a complete fighter and boxer,
The most complete.
the most complete. And in fact, all the undisputed champions are. Canelo is the most complete boxer and fighter at 168. That's why he's able to accomplish what he's been able to do. I say all this because even if Jermell had experience fighting at 168, none of those guys are Canelo.
Yeah.
Whereas Jermell's skill is amazing at 154, but he's essentially just maybe a top 15 fighter at there's not that many fights that are amazing at 168, but maybe he's a top 10 fighter at 168. Like if I ask you guys, could Jermell beat a David Morrell? Could he beat a David Benavidez?
So I think,
so.
Morrell's
I
not
think he
proven
could.
yet. Morrell's not proven yet, but I think Benavidez, it's a question, bro. We don't know how he moves. We don't know how he's going.
So here's the thing. I want to give you guys.
I think he could beat Benavidez.
I'm gonna give you guys a little more insight. In Jermell Charlo, his whole fights at 154, Jermell Charlo gets hit a lot, right? Would you guys say that's a true statement or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to engage. He likes to engage. He don't duck that smoke.
Yeah.
So even if because we know that he does like to engage, because man, this is the Iron Man. You know what I'm saying? Iron Man, they like to fight. He's the heart of a lion. He's a lion.
Yes, sir.
They engage in combat. So here's the thing. So now that we have established that he gets hit, we also know that he has good legs too, right?
Yeah, it's a good chin too.
And when he uses his legs, he still gets hit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
So if you are getting hit using your legs, which is going to be your strongest and best trait against Canelo, if you're somehow still getting hit by all these smaller men in these other weight classes, like Tony Harrison, like Brian Castano, like Jason Rosario, because all these guys gave Jermell, they all stunned him, where he's like, oh shit, I got hit, and he'll smile, and he's like, bring it on, fucker. Canelo's gonna do the same thing. Canelo's gonna find you. So what is Jermell going to do when those moments happen?
Well, he's gonna dig deep like he has, man. I mean, he stopped all of his fighters, bro. Like he's gonna see if he can. Well, that's the problem, right? It depends on when Canelo hits him. If Canelo hits him with the first flush shot in the early rounds, where Charlo doesn't even have time to accustom himself to the power of Canelo, it could be a quick ass night.
Yeah.
Quick ass night. But if he gets a couple of clean punches in his beard or something like that, and he's like, whoa, all right, and now I have to use my reflexes. Now I have to move a little more. Then he might not necessarily be the the come forward fighter that's willing to, or the fighter that gets himself allowed to go to the ropes to take a punch. He might just be like, you know what, I got to switch it up. And I think he's smart enough and big and tall enough to be able to move on the ring, because you could afford to go to the ropes against a fighter like Tony Harrison, because Tony Harrison is not the most fleet of foot fighter. He's a very good, rounded fighter with good position and stance, but he's not a great mover. He doesn't have to exaggerate his movement and his legs to clear space. He just makes a couple of subtle movements and he's out of danger, but he's always near you, right? But if you can figure out where he can be and you show enough aggression, then you can hit him. That's why Charlo did it, and that's why Tim Sue did it. But the question really should be is who has Canelo fought most recently that emulates the style and the physical form of a Ironman Charlo. Most recently, I don't know if there has been a person that's been that long and feisty and dogged, because he's not gonna be like Callum Smith when Callum Smith decided to, like, I don't know, to show Canelo too much respect,
I don't think
knowing that he was way bigger.
I don't think his style is that complicated to
Bivol.
figure out, though. I think someone like Sanders was giving Canelo a hard time up until literally his body started, his orbital bone broke. That's the reason why they stopped the fight. It wasn't because he was getting like outboxed. It was Sanders that was outboxing Canelo. You know, so
No. In
no,
fact, I don't think so at all. Let me first answer Speed's question. You said
Not Bivol. Bivol is
and Jermell Charlo, can Canelo bring in that emulate Jermell Charlo? Bivol.
no. Bivol does not get hit. Jermell Charlo gets hit.
Bivol got a different style.
Yeah, Bivol gets hit. It does not get hit.
Let me explain why I say this. Bivol, as we know, is a lot of 1-2 straight punches, and then he circles around with good legs. But if you go watch the Canelo fight in the first 5 rounds, Bivol was doing that. But when Canelo was sharp and had a lot of energy, he was pushing Bivol back, and he was hitting his arms and everything. What was Bivol doing in between? He was catching and shooting, boom, with straight punches, right? And then he started doing it late in the rounds too. Jermell implemented that style in Brian Castano Part 2, but with a little more athleticism.
I don't think
he started slipping punches and then punching in between, using the ropes, leaning back, coming in, using that momentum, very similar to Bivol. Now, here's the thing. Bivol has way better defense.
I was going to say that.
Way better defense than Jermell. And Canelo was still able to find him, not so much with flush shots, but he was still able to capture him. Now, going to your question, your statement, Drew, Canelo was beating Billy Joe Saunders the whole fight. You see what I'm saying? He was beating Billy Joe Saunders the whole fight. There was 2-3 rounds that Saunders was like, oh man, I gotta throw combinations. So he started throwing like some left straights to the body and then coming up over the top, doubling up his lead hand or his backhand, and he was landing Canelo, and then Canelo was able to, he's like, all right, this boy's got some good skills, and then he got him with the orbital shot, uppercut, and then he essentially started putting him away. He started showboating and telling Surasa, I got this guy, you know, putting his hand up in the air and started walking him down. Bivol, you know, Saunders felt the momentum shift, and then boom. Look, bro, come on, to that statement of Bivol and Jermell Charlo. You got to understand this, bro. Bivol only has 20 fights, professional fights. So that lets me know he doesn't have a lot of experience. Now, he has a lot of experience fighting guys like Sullivan Barrera, right? Joe Smith Jr., right? But if I tell you who else has he fought, you're going to be like, well, Canelo and Zurdo. But that was before Canelo. Who had he fought before Canelo? Joe Smith Jr., Lenin Castillo, Desmond Nichols, or Craig Richards.
The Great. No,
so again, you didn't know what Bivol had, because Bivol fights a lot like Mikey Garcia when Mikey Garcia was at 126 and 130. It was all 1-2 in and out movement, you know, Victor Postal style. That's all he did. But in the Canelo fight, if you're really crafty and studious, he did a whole lot of great things that essentially Bud Crawford did to Errol Spence. He stood his ground, and at moments he needed to walk Canelo back down, and he threw a lot of punches. He made Canelo blow out his wall. I don't know if Jermell can do that because he's not the bigger man or is accustomed to sparring big men like Bivol. So that's where Jermell kind of shot himself in the foot. But in terms of if you go watch Jermell versus Castano, he was doing a lot of the similar tactics and traits. And hell, that even Bud did against Errol Spence. So
but I was gonna say something though, the homie Ricky. The reason I was gonna say that the reason why Jermell Charlo can't allow himself to get pushed to the ropes and catch and shoot and take punches while in the ropes is because he knows that the opponent across from him is not presenting any kind of harm to him. right? That's why Bivol fought the same way with Canelo. He allowed Canelo to push him to. Well, Canelo was successful. He was bringing that heat, punching hard enough to push him to the ropes, but nonetheless, Bivol was not concerned too much about being pushed around because he felt that although Canelo is a strong, powerful fighter, his defense was holding up, and he was like, you ain't cutting through me. You ain't cutting through me, and I'm taking your punches, and I've seen this before, and you're not that strong. Why? Because I fight bigger guys than you, and that's why he didn't show him the respect, and he allowed himself to get used to the ropes because he knew he can catch and shoot, and where he was basically saying, "Can your punch? Uh, can you take my punch and I take yours?" And the
I
same
agree.
thing with, I think the same thing with Charlo and Castaño and anybody that he's faced. Here's the thing, though, Jermell is now going to be the smaller fighter. But here's the thing, Canelo doesn't allow himself to get pushed to the ropes. You have to push him there. And in fact, if he does it, he's just like, look, come on. You're not bringing the heat. Come to me. But that's been a while
Absolutely.
since I've seen
But
Canelo get pushed to the ropes.
Those are some very great points. That Bivol was able to do that stuff. You see, Bivol was a big ass guy. He easily walks around like past 200 pounds.
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So that's basically who he's sparring with. Now, let me. Andres says it's not Bivol's fault. There's not a lot of great competition at light heavyweight. I completely disagree. There's fighters like Anthony Yard that he can fight. There's guys like Alexander Volstik that he can fight. Hell, even Joshua Boazzi. But even
Peter
before all that, he could before all these guys started getting older, he could have fought Alexander Volstik. Hell, he could have fought the Superman, Adonis Stevenson, Andre
Oh,
Ward, Sergey Kovalev.
yep.
That's about six, seven names that I mentioned.
He's spitting.
See? And now let me tell you this. If Bivol was that guy, look what Lomachenko did, right? In his second fight, Orlando Salido championship bout. In his third bout, undefeated Gary Russell Jr. What were the names? Because before all those names that I mentioned who Bivol has on his resume, before Zurdo and Lenny Castillo, and then Joe Smith Jr. and Sullivan Barrera, who were the first 15 fights or 14 bouts that Bivol had on his name? I guarantee you can't name me one fighter.
Man, when the homie Ricky cooks, he cooks.
So what
That's
I'm
one
trying
thing.
to say is, if he's really that great, no, there's been great competition at his light heavyweight. He just didn't fight him early enough.
Yeah.
Now you can be like, well, he doesn't have to be in the accelerated rate that Lomachenko did in terms of pursuing a championship bout. But I'm saying if you want the names and if you have the backing of HBO, you can get those bouts because Lomachenko got those bouts. Alexander Usyk got
That's
those
true.
bouts. So
Man,
you
that's
can't
true.
tell me, oh, there's not great competition. No, he didn't fight those dudes. That's the big difference because Loma and Usyk did.
Yep. And yeah, you said, oh yeah,
Damn.
Bivol's an HBO fighter, so he had
Yeah.
all those opportunities to fight those dudes down there. And what happened to that? You know, like he never really built that name. Like we really found out about this guy. I mean, the hardcores knew about this guy, but the world found out about him, you know, once he fought Canelo.
What are you talking about? Before Canelo, a lot of people ducked him.
The hardcores, I'm saying the hardcores only knew him. Like the casuals didn't know about.
Honestly, not even the hardcores ever knew Bivol.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hardcore fans that don't even know. Like you know, you can know like you gotta be like not even like because a lot of people can be studious of the game. Like, oh, you guys study the sport of boxing, but if I name some like obscure fighters, you can't know all of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's impossible to know every single fighter.
Oh man, so
no one is going to Bivol when his best fight up until fighting guys like what's his name, Sullivan Barrera, guys like Cedric Agnew and Samuel Clarkson and Robert Barej and Felix Valera. No one's ducking Bivol knowing those names, bro. So I've known Bivol about since he was 16, 17, and 0.
Damn.
Or since 2016 and 17. Yeah. That's
okay.
He got signed with HBO. And
Yeah,
Andre
actually-
Ward sat in his training camp and they were like, hey, man, you know that they're going to say that I ducked you or something that because, you know, I'm retiring. Yeah. That's when I've known about Bivol as well. But that's kind of what I'm saying. We knew about Lomachenko and Usyk around that age and even like 2014, way before. Hold on.
and he still hasn't fought anybody. So man.
Wait, who hasn't fought everybody?
Well, it really,
Nah, nah.
what you guys are bringing up, we've known about Dmitry Bivol since 2016 when Ward was saying this guy's the next big thing, and even then, we never saw him fight anybody. It's almost like the same thing as starting a war. Here's the thing, though. Alan Kanolai, another fighter that was coming up and being well promoted by all of these companies. Alan Kanolai, is he on the fast track or is he not on the fast track? Because he's starting to move like it. I mean, he's already talking about this unification fight that's coming up. He's talking about how Chris Eubank ain't nothing. There are ways where you can be on the fast track if you really believe in yourself, and if you are the goods, and if you have the promotional backing to get you those fights that'll get you the name recognition and the money and the belts. How do we know this? Because even somebody who has not been as as skillfully regarded as Anthony Joshua became a champion at 70 fights.
Yeah, no, Zani Beck only has 14 bouts, 15 bouts. Yeah, he's on the fast track. And he has to be because he's relatively unknown. And also the middleweight division is up for grabs. It's up for taking. Anybody can essentially establish a great legacy and he'll become undisputed because aside from like 5 fighters, that's all there is at middleweight right now. It's pretty lackluster. I mean, I can't even include Jermell Charlo because he's not an active fighter, but it's just William Adames or Carlos Adames. I think William Adames, Zani Beck, and then that's it. You're looking at a 4-year-old Erislandy Lara fighting Danny Garcia for one of the vacated belts that Triple G relinquished. So aside from that, bro, like I gotta look at the middleweight rankings and read you off some names, but there's not much.
Right, yeah, so I think maybe Bivol, if this fight with him and Arthur better be, if it doesn't happen, he should just move up to 170. He should just move up in weight, right? I mean, he's not getting anything done at 175. He still has the Canelo bout. I heard that he might fight in December the 2nd or December the 9th, according to Edward Hearn. No determined fighter as of yet. So it's like, okay, well, he's gonna have a fight about a year and a half after he last fought, and who's he gonna fight? Nobody knows for sure. You have to seek the smoke.
At 160. So if I'm going to BoxRec, they still have Gennady Golovkin as the guy at 160. And then 2, they have Chris Eubank Jr. At 3, they have Liam Smith. At 4, Miram Nursultanov. At 5, Carlos Adames. 6, Michael Sarafa. And then 7, Zani Beck Alim Kanuli. And I think he's fighting Vincenzo Gualtieri for one of the belts. And then Austin Almo Williams, who has like 15 fights. They have him in the top 10. And then Shane Mosley Jr. and then Elijah Garcia is going to be fighting on the Canelo undercard. So basically what I'm saying is there is no names at 160. So Zani Beck is like, let me just collect all these straps because aside from myself and Carlos Adames, there's no competition.
And that's across the street.
Bro, that's like, damn, bro. I can't believe the middleweight division sucks that bad.
It really does.
What in the world? What happened?
Yeah, well, hopefully all those fights happen, though. Because if the only reason those guys suck is because they haven't done anything, right? That's the only reason. They haven't had the opportunity to do anything. So this is the proper opportunity for them to all just start, throwing them all in the hat, putting out a name and having them all fight each other. I think it has lots of potential. It just doesn't have any kind of names with proper backing or acclaim. That's the only reason. But otherwise, I mean, 160, it's only exciting because nobody is fighting so far. But hopefully that starts to change.
Well,
yeah, hopefully we get some players in there.
Yeah, man, that's actually pretty sad that one of the best glamour divisions.
It really is too.
Damn, bro. What?
That's the same division that Marvin Hagler fought in, right?
Well, that's the same division that at one point had Triple G, Danny Jacobs, Sergey Derenchenko, Canelo Alvarez, Jermall Charlo. Like, bro, it had a lot of huge names. Now all of a sudden, like,
they're all spread out.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah,
Yes,
but that's because Canelo created the next glamour weight of the modern era, which is 168. 160 took a step back
Glamour
once
weight.
Canelo went to 168.
Yeah,
yeah,
no, there's a lot of huge names at 168. One, I want to say
Yeah,
huge names, not huge names, but there's a lot of potentially to be great names like David Moreau, like David Benavidez.
hmm
Hey, great names, and we just don't even
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mention.
Morrell with his 8 fights, and Morrell with his 8 fights, right?
Yeah, with 9 fights, it's such a glamour weight now, dude.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. What is going on, man?
Oh man.
Yeah, like I'm telling you, boxing is up for grabs right now. But even then, like I still think Ronald Ellis, who fought David Benavidez, I thought he gave David Benavidez a great fight. Like Ronald
Mhm.
Ellis, there's a reason why Canelo always calls him over for a sparring because he's pretty fucking good. Like I would like to see Ronald Ellis versus Caleb Plant, and you're gonna find out, bro. This dude is a dog.
Ronald Ellis, isn't he the one? Yeah, he fought Benavidez already, right? And went the
Yeah.
distance. You said.
He gave him a good fight too.
Yeah, yeah. That's Rashidi Ellis's brother, no, or something. No,
Oh, I don't know about
I
that.
think they're over there. I might be wrong though. But yeah, that shit's crazy, man. Yeah, man. Jermell wins, Hall of Famer in the bag. You know.
And hopefully, you know what? Here's the thing, guys. Hopefully, he does win, right? Because one of the fighters that has reached so much height in the sport, but it's just never gotten the respect, really has been Jermell Iron Man Charlo.
Yeah.
He has been ignored in many I think it was in the ESPN's most famously in their pound for pound champions list. Even though he became undisputed, even though he had all the names at 154 at one time, it's ridiculous how nobody gives him any. And I know there's a hell of fighters out there, Alexander Usyk, and you start looking at Alvarez. You start looking at Terence Crawford, and Naoya Inoue. You start looking at Chocolatito or Estrada. You start looking at all of those guys, and yeah, I know it's a very tight pound for pound list currently. Great names out there, but I would say, as much as I am a fan of Lomachenko, Vasily Lomachenko, if you have him on your pound for pound list after he's lost, and you don't have Devin Haney there, and
Racing.
you're not giving any room for Jermell Charlo, you're just a hater. That's the thing. You're a hater, and this is why I say if he can upend the odds and upset the great, legendary shoe-in Hall of Famer Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan, then I say go for it. I'm all for that. I want something good for this man. He's entertained me for so many years. I love Canelo Alvarez. It's just gonna boil down to: is it gonna be the Texas heat or is it gonna be the Mexican meat?
Yeah, for
Yeah, the Mexican. Man,
yeah, I know.
bro.
Jermell though, there's only so many undisputed champs right now, and for both of them to fight, it's a pretty big deal. Yeah, man, Jermell wins. I mean, he's like 5 to 10 right now on the pound for pound list for me.
Honestly, I like underdogs. I like Jermell, but I don't want him to win because I don't want this to start becoming a trend in boxing. We're like, oh man, I'm undisputed, so I think I can beat by everybody 3 weight classes or 2 weight classes.
Yeah. That's true. That's
Yes,
true.
no, bro. Like Crawford, you just beat the snot out of Errol Spence. That's dope as hell, bro. But I want you to continue to stay at 150, at 147 because I would like for you to fight Stanionis. For
There's
Geraldo
smoke.
Sterling. One of the reasons you become undisputed, it
Mhm.
seems like a lot of people forget, is not
It's
only
to fight everybody.
not only exactly everybody has to go through you now.
Yep,
That's one of
that's
the reasons
money.
why Triple G always wanted a belt. He's like, dude, if I have all these belts, they have to fight me.
That's
And
plata. That's
the same thing with Devin
dinero.
Haney. That's the same thing with Devin Haney. He wanted all the belts because without it, he was never going to get Lomachenko. And even without it, he couldn't even get Tank Davis or Ryan Garcia. One of the reasons you become undisputed is not so there can only be one name, one face per weight class, which is what every sport has, unfortunately. fortunately. But it's also so all roads have to lead through you. Now, I understand once you've reached the hilltop, you're like, what's more? Well, sometimes there is no more. And it's okay to settle there and continue
Mhm.
to dominate your
Exactly.
presence of the throne, of the king. You are
Some
now
of the best have done it like that.
Mhm.
absolutely like Bernard Hopkins and many others
Yep.
that just continue at one weight class, especially when you're undisputed. So, Bud, we don't
Mhm.
want you. I don't want him to move up or Jermell at 154. No, bro. I want you to fight Tim Tszyu. For Bud, I want you to fight Jerron Boots Ennis, Stanionis, Virgil Ortiz if he's able to make help. Same thing with Canelo. I don't want you to go to 175 and fight Archer Beterbiev or Bivol. Let those
Hey,
dudes
hey,
fight
wait,
one
wait,
another.
wait,
I
homie
want you to
Ricky.
fight David Benavidez, David Morrell.
But
Fight
but guess what, homie Ricky? The homie Ricky, it's like this. But pobrecito, he's done so much. If anybody deserves the big purse, it's Terrence Crawford. He's been ignored for all of his life. Nah, bruh. I'm not here to make these fighters
man.
multimillionaires.
Bro,
I'm
check
here
this
to
out.
watch the fights. And
But
I don't think a guy climbing up 3 weight divisions to take a fighter for the easiest way to getting another undisputed is the way to do it. Nah. Clear out
listen, Bud has always gotten the
147.
bag
Shit.
though. You see, Bud has always got
No,
paid
I
in
know. No, yeah,
areas.
we talked about that.
He
Yeah.
made a lot of money with not Triller but Black Prime. Every single fight that he was having at top rank, he was getting the bag. Now it's not Canelo money, but I mean it's bro, after like 4 or 5 million that he was getting for like Kell Brooks and Sean Porter's, you can essentially
Yeah.
retire with that. Like that, you putting your kids
Yeah,
and your
but that's
grandchildren
just
through college and all that and homes.
yeah,
So
but I
now
was just
your
making fun of
bag is
those people
your
that
bag.
think I was just making fun of those people that think that that Terrence Crawford has been a victim of a circumstance that somehow now that he's had this opportunity he should just go for the money. Nah,
Now, if you look
nah.
at Bud, he's never been a victim. A victim of what? He's always had top tier promotion. He's always gotten A side privileges and the bag, bro. He's not a victim.
Yeah,
That's why he don't act like one. He's just like, yo,
yeah.
of course I'm gonna fight David Evanesian for that money, bro. He got I don't know how much he got paid, but let's say he got paid between 4 to 8 million for David Evanesian. That's probably what Errol Spence had to do for like a long, like his whole career until he fought Mikey Garcia.
Imagine how much work. Imagine how much work and how prolific a fighter Terrence Crawford would be if he held all 4 belts for all sanctioning bodies, having to fight all of the top 10 fighters, the next number one for every one of his belts. Each of them is money. Each of them fills up stadiums. Each of those fights is a significant
Needle
fight to
mover.
take. Exactly. He would be making sure that he's the man at that weight class
Bro, he
for
is
as
the
long as he
man.
can. No, but
He's the
he's the
man.
man. But yeah, but so then me, yeah. But what I'm still saying is
I'm not
there's
lying to you.
smoke though.
Terrence
There's
Crawford is a
smoke.
household name, bro.
Yeah, but there's smoke. Like there's boots. There's there's well even
Virgil.
if he already loses, what's his name? Stanionis. I think he has to fight. I mean, does he have a fight set up?
I don't know. I hope so. That'd be badass. Boots
Yeah,
versus
I mean, and then there's the kid from what's that part of I think it's like down south in Los Angeles, somewhere around there. The guy who beat Blair Cobbs, Alexis Rocha. I know that these guys aren't the kind of names that you're like, oh my god, they inspire so much of the imagination, but they're all scrappy fighters that have come here to work, that come here to entertain us, that come here to put it down. And he could stay there to take all of those fights. The Crawleys, the Canadians. He could come and make himself a famous name by beating up on some of them Canadian boys. He could be that international star by having all of these fighters, but somehow he thinks that he should just skip the line and jump 3 divisions, leaving all of these fighters who've been waiting their opportunity behind so that he could cut the line
Whoa.
because everybody wants him to be the big man. Be
Well, hold on,
quiet.
Steve. You're
Yeah.
deviating from the topic, bro. We had
Yeah,
this
I've always been
conversation.
doing that.
We had this conversation yesterday, and you
That's
missed
my
out.
job.
You missed out. So on that note, guys, thank y'all for joining us, man. We're gonna
Yeah,
wrap
yeah.
this up.
Oh, one last thing. One last thing. Somebody named Cal Paradox
So,
says he doesn't want to fight Cal Paradox at 285 pounds, and I agree. I agree. I think Terrence Crawford wants to duck that Cal P smoke at 285.
uh, On that note, man, have a good night, guys. Stay safe. We'll probably talk tomorrow. Maybe Boots Ennis versus Stanionis. I'm not too sure.
Ooh, Lord.
Yeah, yeah.
On that
Good
note,
night,
man, have a
Mr.
good night. It was pretty
Mr. Vince
fun.
Vargas, Andres Martinez, Cal Paradox, the
There
homie
you go.
Ricky, the old big man Drew. Good
Yeah.
night. Good
Yeah,
night.
Good night. All right, night, Ricky. Good night, Speed. Good
Hey,
night,
you
everyone
had a
in the
pretty
chat.
good draft class, bro. It was pretty good.
What was that?
Your draft.
Oh yeah. You like that?
Yeah, it's pretty good, man.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I diversified. You see, and I learned my lesson with the running backs.
Yeah, let me go back to these matchups real quick. You went matchups.
Yeah, no, I got I kind of went too early on Brock, but
Brock as in Brock Purdy.
Yeah, but
no,
I got Cousins.
You have a really good team. The guy you're going up against has a good team too. Damn, you got the receiving core.
Like Testaroy said yesterday, there's a bunch of there's plenty of wide receivers for everyone, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the running backs that was limited. That's exactly what I was doing. I got Najee Harris and Barkley.
Man, one day you guys gotta teach me what this thing called the draft is. One day. All right, good night, guys.
All right, good night, guys. Oh yeah, but what happened, Rick?
I'll call you right now, bro.
Oh, okay. All right, man. Peace.